Hello, and welcome to episode number 12 of Missed Mando, a disc golf podcast covering the disc golf world. I'm your host, Robbie Holden. Joining me, as always, are my friends and co-hosts, Sean Galbraith and Galen Naidu-Harris. Sean, how are you? And what have you been up to since our last episode, my friend?
Absolutely fantastic, Robbie. Thank you. Great to be joining you again here on episode 12. This is amazing. What I've been up to, played the Four Fathers Open a couple weekends ago, got 10th place, 849 average, which was above my rating, so I'm super happy with that. On one hole, a legendary hole at Newcastle called Plinko, I had an eagle look for the first time. I didn't actually hit a tree, which, if you know that hole, is very unlikely to happen. And then last weekend, played the St. Catharines Showdown with Galen, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. I played like wet garbage in round 2. I was getting really tired and it was hot and was like, but didn't matter because round 1 was a lot of fun and I played really well. Galen, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm doing good. I'm just being reminded right now, I don't know why this hasn't occurred to me before, but of a bit that one of my favorite podcasts called Too Many Men does, where the host, it's same thing, like 3 people, will ask the first of the 2 co-hosts, like, hey, like, tell me about how you're doing, like, what's new and exciting in your life? And the co-host gives an answer. And then for the second co-host, she just says, Shayna, say hi. And Shayna says hi. And that is the entirety of that person's intro. And I think that would be fun. I think at some point we just have to do that as a bit where Sean gives a full intro and then it's like, Robbie's like, hey, Galen, say hi. And I'm like, hi.
The less we hear from you, the better. So I am totally on board with this.
That's what I'm saying. It's always my preference to subject the 2 of you to fewer of my comments. So that sounds good. I'm doing good, guys. I feel like I'm back on track. I had a couple of rough weeks of golf there in the middle. Was not playing well at the Guelph sanctioned league that you guys are running out there, Robbie. Was not playing well at the Dads of Muskoka, like in and around 75 points under my rating for 4 rounds in a row, and it was not feeling good. But played the St. Catharines Showdown with Sean this weekend. Felt good. Shot 890 rated golf, and I'm sitting at an 876 right now overall, so was pretty happy with that. Third in the MA2 field of like 12 or 13 or so people, so the golf was good. Andrea and the crew did a great job of getting the course ready. I know that there is a bit of a reputation that course can have because there are some people who are experiencing homelessness who use that park as their refuge, and that can encroach upon fairways and disc golf holes. For me, I'm never going to think that my right to throw plastic is more important than somebody's, desire to have a home. But at the same time, when you're playing, it can be a little frustrating to feel like you're sharing space with somebody in that way where, you don't necessarily want to throw a certain line because you don't want your disc to end up in somebody's tent. Anyway, all that was to say, I was really impressed by how well manicured the course was, how great of a job the team did of ensuring that the disc golfers felt at home there, as they were working their way through the course that had other people that called it home. And I actually heard for the first time this weekend that, Andrea and some of the folks that do work there are are just helping some of the people in that park to get housed on a pretty consistent basis. The number that I heard was over 100 people that have experienced homelessness in that park have been housed since through the efforts of the local community. So I think that's fantastic. And I'm always happy to see good causes go hand in hand with disc golf. The disc golf, like I was saying, was great. I got to play with my buddy Paul Fenney both rounds. Great dude. So getting to hang out with a friend for a whole day and throw some discs is always great. Made some friends. That was just a great weekend. Sean set up his tech disc over the lunch. So we got to see that I can throw a disc really fast, but not spin it very much. Which I don't know what I'm going to do with that data. But I'm going to try to figure out how to make myself better. So, always good to have, data points to do that. And then also disc golf adjacent, good friend of mine, James Atkinson, I'm lucky enough to be in his wedding party, and he had his stag and doe between the last episode and this one. So like sort of disc golf adjacent, he had like a putting challenge or like a ton of disc golf prizes. I don't know, just felt like it was worth a shout out that somebody that is well known to many people in the disc golf community had a lot of disc golf related things going on with stag and doe, and that was also a wicked time. I lost the toonie toss, which is just a great shame for me because I'm usually pretty lights out at those. But there was another challenge that I won, and I won a disc golf related prize too. So that's a very long-winded way of saying life is good, boys. I'm glad to be here with you.
How about you, Robbie?
Yeah, man, I've been doing good. Disc golf wise, kind of struggling, but still playing a lot. You know, I played all 3 tournaments that we're going to talk about in our Ontario recap coming up in a sec. I was there for all of them with Four Fathers, Forest City, and then the awesome Blueberry Brawl up in Sudbury, which, like I said, we'll get to all that. Playing wise didn't go so good, but you know, it's always good to be out on a weekend playing disc golf, getting to play these amazing courses. For me, Newcastle is probably one of, if not my number one favorite course in Ontario. I absolutely love it. Blueberry Brawl is grueling. It's a lot. 88 holes over 2 days can be a grind, but so much fun when you get to start your tournament with a shot of blueberries. That's definitely a unique experience that I always love to get. So yeah, it's been fun, and I've got my my home or local tournament coming up with the Guelph Royale this coming weekend from when we are recording right now. So hopefully we'll be able to break out of the slump and perform a little better there. But other than that, off the disc golf course, I went to Wonderland for the first time in 11 years, I think. I used to get a season's pass every year, and haven't been in over a decade. Got to ride some new rides that I haven't yet, and I forgot how much fun roller coasters are. Oh my God, it was amazing. And also got the premium fast passes or whatever. I went a little bougie. And elite. There is no better feeling than walking past a line of 150 people and just going basically right to the front and hopping on the roller coaster. So yeah, I was pretty fired up for that. But that is totally unrelated to disc golf. Although I can't lie and not say that, you know, there are certain places in the park where I was like, you know, basket could go there and I could tee off from here, and this could be a totally cool little safari hole. Because that's just how my brain works. But
just tee off from the top of Leviathan to that thing that takes you up and spins you around. Put a basket on top of that. Crank a backhand hyzer.
What par?
Take the island. Par. Ooh, it's an island, so it's got to be a par 4. Probably pretty far.
Yeah, it's a long par 4. Those rides are not even close to each other.
I haven't been there in a long time either. I was going to ask you how it was, but it's painted all over your face. You had a great time.
Yeah,
make a reappearance too.
It was awesome. I will probably never go and not do the fast pass because I took the day off work on a Wednesday to go. Sorry if my boss watches this, which I highly doubt. But I took the day off on a Wednesday. I guess it is summer vacation for kids, so that will help with the with how busy the park was. But even for a Wednesday, it was slammed. It was so busy in there. Some of the regular lines were pretty big, and I'm not a very patient guy for stuff like that, especially when you're just baking in the sun in a lot of them. So, but yeah, it was awesome. Got to ride Leviathan twice. You know, Behemoth. Yeah, got some hilarious photos taken on those rides. So yeah, life is good.
Is Leviathan still the biggest coaster? Because I remember when I was in high school, Behemoth was the biggest, I think, and then they made Leviathan a few years later that was bigger. Is that still the top dog, or is there a bigger roller coaster now?
Yeah, Leviathan's the biggest there. I think the one that spins, you're in the swing, I think might be technically taller, but that's considered a ride, not a roller coaster. I believe, at least. I totally could be wrong about all of this, but yeah, I'm pretty sure Leviathan is the tallest. Although personally, controversial for our Canada's Wonderland fans in the audience.
Coming up,
I prefer Behemoth. I like Behemoth more. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the up and down, and I just love, getting the arms up in the air. And, that's gonna be great on video. But yeah, Behemoth over Leviathan for me, although they're both wickedly fun. But anyways, I think that's enough non-disc golf talk. What do you guys think about moving on here and jumping into some Junior Worlds recap. Before we get into anything else, we absolutely have to start by talking about the Junior World Championships that went down last week in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and give a huge shout out and congratulations to Peterborough, Ontario's own and new MJ10 PDGA World Champion, Nico Forbes. Nico, he had an amazing performance all week. He had a great battle, was going into the finals down by 1 stroke after being tied or in the lead after a bunch of rounds before, just having a great battle. And then he was able to come up clutch in that finals, which is a final 9 at PDGA World Championships. I think they do the same at Masters Worlds as well. It's a final 9. And in that final 9, he was able to come home with a 1-stroke win for the world title. Awesomely done, Nico. And also out there in the field, friend of the pod, Rebecca Dawn. She had an amazing performance as well. She finished on the podium in 3rd place in FJ 18 as a 16-year-old. So she's going to have a couple more opportunities to go down and try and claim that title if she wants to. And of course, she had her major win earlier in the year at U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship, where she was able to take 1st in FJ 18. So just continuing her great season. Other Canadians playing well in the event were Brooklyn O'Crafta, who finished 12th in FJ 15. Alistair Robinson, who finished 22nd in MJ 12 in a field of more than 100 competitors in that division. And I shout out to my buddy Austin Hill. I've shouted him out before on the podcast before. I believe, I don't have it up in front of me, I believe he finished 26th in that division as well. So good performance for Austin, and he's looking, I'm pretty sure he'll be playing Guelph this weekend. That's his home turf, so looking to get a win there. But Shawnee G, let's throw it over to you for any of your thoughts from the Junior Worlds.
It's so cool that these kids are so good at disc golf, so much better than I am at disc golf. Again, I think I've said it before. It's disrespectful of their elders to be that much better than me. But nonetheless, huge congratulations to all the Canadians who went down. Again, especially Nico taking it down. If you want to watch some of the coverage, it was post-produced by Ace Run Pro, and you can watch at least the FJ18 coverage, a lot of it on the PDGA's YouTube channel, and I will include a link in the show notes to that, so you can watch some of Rebecca's great plays there.
I dig it. Yeah, not much to add. Just a big congrats to Nico, Rebecca, Alistair, Brooklyn, Austin, any Canadians down there representing for our small, at least population-wise nation that punches, I think, well above its weight in the disc golf world. I just
did us all proud.
Yeah, absolutely. Very proud. A special shout out to Nico. I haven't had the chance to have an extended conversation with him. I think I've waved at him and his dad from a distance, maybe said a quick hello if memory serves, but I've been lucky enough to commentate on 1 or 2 of his Nico's drives on the Canadian Disc Golf Productions YouTube channel. And my goodness, that kid can sling a disc. So I'm not surprised, but I am very impressed with that result. Big shout out to Nico and the rest of the Canadian kids. That did us all very proud. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, I got to, I was fortunate enough last year to, at the Canadian Nationals, on the Wednesday before the actual tournament, there was the Canadian Nationals doubles event. And he wasn't in my division, of course, but my partner and I actually got to play with Nico and his dad, for that round. And I've never been more envious of a forehand. It's just, it's so smooth and buttery. Well, with my buddy Austin, who I mentioned earlier, I've probably felt the same too. But Nico being that young, like we said, MJ10 world champion, that much control with the forehand is elite, and his energy is to go with it is special. He loves the game. Even if you get to be around him at P15, where he is helping out run as like a co-TD, and doing doing a bunch of announcements beforehand, and you'll see him out on the course cheering you on. He is a bundle of joy and an awesome kid, and definitely well-deserved world championship for him. I also, on not a Canadian note, but just wanted to, on a maybe potential future person that we might see on the Pro Tour, over in MJ18, Ryan Mon of Simpsonville, South Carolina, had an insane event. He won by 11 strokes, averaging 1023 rated golf, including a 1051 rated second round. Absolutely insane at a junior event. And of course, that's Jake Mon's brother, who we've seen on the Pro Tour already. So Ryan Mon potentially joining him very soon. Not sure exactly if he's 18 or if he's 17. You know, I'm not sure exactly where he's at. If he'll continue to play amateur junior events or if he's fully going pro now. Obviously, he already competes in some MPO stuff and just doesn't take cash.
Yeah, he's already played. He's already played in 2 Disc Golf Pro Tour events this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He didn't cash or didn't accept cash?
He didn't. He was pretty far down that list.
Right.
But he's on his way. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
That's wild.
That is awesome. Anything else that either of you guys would like to add for Junior Worlds before we move on to some Ontario tournaments?
Let's talk Ontario.
No. I got to stop you right there. So, you said that, you didn't think that there was anybody whose forehand you were more jealous of than Nico's. So not to compete with a child, but definitely to compete with a child. Hey, I got like a 400-foot forehand here that comes out every once in a while. I've got it up to 455. I can't throw as far as you there, Robbie, but I want a little bit of credit here. That Nico kid is just fine, but your podcast co-host can't keep getting ranked behind these young kids that we look up to in our lives. Because first you're caddying for Austin, next you're saying you prefer Nico's forehand. Like, I don't know what the next step is here. I just feel like I'm always playing second fiddle to you. I just I got to call it out. It's disappointing.
And I got to call you out, Galen. You said you can't keep playing second fiddle to these kids. I assure you that you can. And
I assure you
that you will.
I expect that in the world on the course, but not from you, Robbie. I expect it better from you.
Those are 100%
time on the
Instagram
podcast
that you gave me.
Hey, I'll throw a 455-foot forehand anytime you want, buddy.
We're going to
anytime you want. I mean, probably never again.
Probably never again. All right, let's move on to some Ontario tournament news.
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely. We head out to the amazing Newcastle Disc Golf Course for the annual Forefathers Open, the 8th stop on this year's OCC Provincial Qualifying Series. Like I was saying earlier, this is one of, if not my number one favorite course in Ontario. It is so much fun and so unique with different features all over the course, including a giant Plinko board on the tough hole 4 named Plinko that Sean was talking about earlier. It is very tough, missing everything and getting an eagle look like Shawnee G did. That is impressive. Unfortunately, he's not good enough to hit the putt, but we will forgive some things here on the pod. Ontario power couple Thomas and Alicia Hums both took home wins, with Thomas winning by 6 strokes in MPO and Alicia winning by 14 in FPO. For Thomas, this is his second win of the season after winning at Albion Hills, and it's Alicia's third win of the year to go along with wins at Kings Forest Open and the Muskoka Shootout number 4. This is also the 4th time that the Humses have taken down both MPO and FPO at the same tournament, which is a really cool little stat. Galen, let's go to you first, my friend, for some of your thoughts on the Forefathers Open.
Yeah, Humses, Humsai, I don't know how it is that we pluralize Hums here. But the power struggle for Ontario's premier disc golf power couple continues. I think Tom and Alicia Hums and Colleen McInnes and Chris Brown have been trading blows here for years now, jockeying for position, and I am definitely here for it. I love a good disc golfer. I love a great pro. I love a great local pro, and I love a great local pro couple, so I'd love to see it. Also of note, Alicia hit an absolutely sweet ace at Forefathers. Sneaky one that feels really good to hit, which I can say from experience because I hit the exact same ace at the exact same tournament and won the exact same prize, sort of. Last year they changed the bag, but it was the elevated ace hole. There's this beautiful, like slightly downhill. Let's say it's like, like 180 or so from the shore. It's like maybe like 210.
Hole 16, the Gardyloo Gully or Gulch.
Hole 16, yeah, and
fantastic hole.
Just a great hole. You're thrown across this gulch, this valley. And last year it was the first hole of my card for the day. And I don't think I've told the story on the pod. I'll be super brief. But essentially we were all talking about how, you always buy into the ace pot. I was like, I always buy in. I bought into the ace pot this one tournament. And I forgot to buy in, and then I hit an ace, and I will never again miss that. And then we hear the start it up, and I'm first off the tee. So I walk up, throw a backhand Berg, and immediately ace like 10 seconds after that conversation. So that's still probably the coolest disc golf moment I've been a part of. And so I wasn't at the Forefathers Open, unfortunately, but I saw Alicia's post and I was like, hang on, that looks familiar. And I looked and I was like, that photo of her looks identical to the photo of myself. This must be the same hole. And sure enough, it was. So, love that she hit that. Love that she took down a pound bag for it. That is awesome. That's it for me. Sean, over to you. Any thoughts?
Just one of the things that you forgot in your story there, Galen, is there was like 5 total aces on that day that you hit your ace, but you were the only one to pay into the ace pot and got the full ace pot to go along with it. So PSA to all disc golfers out there, buy into the ace pot. You hit one of those and it almost pays back every single one you ever buy in for. So it's always worth it. And I can't imagine the feeling of, hitting an ace and not being in the ace spot, which Galen apparently can't imagine that feeling. So, anyways, yeah. I had to add that in.
I've been on both sides of the coin. I've been on the oh my god, I'm such an idiot side of the coin, and the hitting an ace to start the day and knowing that I've sewn up part of a pot and a several $100 bag and not caring what else happens because it's already one of the best days of disc golf of my life. So, not always a good time when you don't pay in. So, pay into that ace pot. Sean, over to you.
Always. I've gotten my tournament ace before. I was in the pot, $180. Sweet. So give a whole bunch of shout outs here to people in other divisions who played the Forefathers. First shout out is to Alexis Zuhl in FA1 for charging back to take down the win. After round 1, she was trailing Anna Olin by 5, but had a great second round from the longs to seal it. And she also won a sweet new Pound Rufus bag. All the AM winners got to draw a coin or a token from a bag, and 5 of them were Pound bags, and she grabbed one of them. It's super amazing. Lexi had an amazing tournament, averaging 27 points above her rating for a solid 850 tournament. This is her 15th win overall and her 4th this year alone. In MA1, Brady Belanger shot an amazing 978 second round to climb up from second place to win it. Curiously, both of his rounds were rated 978. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
So very quickly, you have, because that happened to me at what was that tournament, Robbie, we were caddying? Dreammaker. It was the weirdest thing because I shot the same score in very different conditions with very different field scores around it, but 953 both rounds. And it was the only time that I'd seen that until this. So
please do not assume that I pay any attention to your rounds at all. But Brady's first round from the shorts was bogey-free, which reminded me of his bogey-free final round at Albion during the Conservation Series last month. He's off to play Ledgestone in a couple weeks, and it'll be great to see how he does against an enormous field. With so many players at Forefathers and so many divisions, it's really tough to narrow down who else to give a shout-out to, but here's just a couple more. Bronte's Ricky Diaz-Yana took down MJ12 and also snagged a pound bag from the winner's raffle. So cool to see that. He was super psyched. He originally wanted the wallet, but had to settle for a pound Rufus bag, which I think he's okay with. And then the other person is, once again, the pride of White Spruce, Jane Anderson Retton. Absolutely smashed it again in FA60, winning by I think, a fairly comfortable 28 stroke margin. It was close, but she managed to hold it off and take it down. This was she's played 73 events according to her PDGA profile. She's played more on unsanctioned as well, but unsanctioned she's played 73. She's won 55 of them. That's 75% of tournaments that she's played. She's undefeated in 2024, and just going back through her finishes just the last 4 years back to 2020, she has only placed lower than second place twice. That's it. She's been first or second, and mostly first in every other event. Absolutely probably the most dominant player in Canada in terms of her win percentage. It's incredible. So huge shout out to Jane. Everybody loves Jane. She just won the Blueberry Brawl as well up in Sudbury. It's included in those numbers, and yeah. So big shout out to Jane.
World champ.
Yeah, I was going to say, I could be getting the years wrong, but it's back-to-back world champ, no?
No, it's 2 times. She had to
22 and 24?
22 to 24. She wasn't there last year. So, yeah.
Love to see it.
Love to see it.
I know Ricky signs with the 2X on his disc. We got to get Jane to start doing that too.
Hell yeah. We need
absolutely.
We need a Jane Tour Series disc.
I'm so there.
Yep.
I'm in.
Where are we going next, Robbie?
We are moving on now to London, Ontario. This was on the same weekend as the Four Fathers opened, and this is the Forest City Open. Big kudos to the TDs for both of these events for offering most divisions on opposite days. I think there were a couple that divisions were on the same days, including you, I believe, Shawnee G. But a lot of the divisions were offered on opposite days, which was great for me because I got to play in both days. It was also great for, kind of continuing on to one of your shout outs from the previous event, it was great for Brady Belanger because he won at Newcastle, obviously, which made him back-to-back Four Fathers Open champions. He won last year in MA1 as well. Well, he also won MA1 at Forest City Open last year and was looking for the double repeat as a MA1 champion back-to-back in 2 different tournaments on the same weekend, which would have been absolutely crazy. Spoiler alert, it didn't happen. Sorry, Brady. You had a great performance. I think he ended up finishing 3rd or maybe 4th, was on the lead card in the final round. Great performance. But on the pro side, we were able to also see, I don't think anyone took advantage of it, but it was on opposite days as well. So pros could have played both if they wanted to. But for this event, another Ontario power couple, Chris Brown and Colleen McInnes, Galen had mentioned in his breakdown, one of the premier Ontario power couples. They both took home the FPO and MPO wins as well, with Colleen winning by 15 strokes over Carleen Green, and Chris shooting a 10-12 rated final round to pull off the comeback and win by 2 strokes over Cam Zanini, with Jake Voskamp rounding out the podium in 3rd. We will have Colleen on the show in a little bit for an interview as well. We recorded the interview before this win, and little tease, maybe another win coming up that we might get to. But Shawnee G, let's throw it over to you for some of your thoughts on the Forest City Open.
I didn't get a chance to play it this year, unfortunately, because it was the same division as Four Fathers, and I if I have the chance to play Newcastle, it's probably going to take Newcastle. But I did play it last year, and man, what a fun course and event. Was it like 1,100 foot hole 16?
Yep.
Super monster with OB running the whole way. The course does a really good job of adding appropriate and challenging OB on a bunch of the holes. Absolutely a fun event. And yeah, really great job of the tournament directors of both this and and forefathers to coordinate the two. I love seeing that. Shout out to Jeff Gillis and MA40 for absolutely embarrassing the course, shooting a combined -12 and averaging a whopping 71 points above his rating for a tournament average of 980. His second round was a 998, which was his highest round ever. You absolutely love to see it. And I am not even remotely upset that he is not currently registered to play against me in any events this year. I'm good with that. I'd like my humiliation to come truly from my own game.
Yeah, you provide a lot of it, Sean. Don't worry.
I try to.
Yeah. Galen, do you have anything that you would like to add for the Forest City Open?
Not much to add. Just a quick shout out to Chris and Colleen. We were talking earlier about the punches and counter punches. I mean, it's tongue in cheek, but I think if you're looking at, disc golf premier power couples in Ontario that are taking things on in the MPO and FPO side, it's a pretty short list. And Chris and Colleen and Alicia and Tom are right up at the top. So always happy to see them do well because they're fantastic people, but also sort of fun. I don't know if there's any existing rivalry, but in my head there is, and it's fun to see them have some success at the same time. So yeah, love to see it. Where are we going to go there, conductor? Should we keep on chugging?
We can be choo-choo. Let's keep on chugging. I was going to say, we can also be typical sports media personalities and stir up drama where there is none. That's what sports media personalities do, right?
Absolutely.
That's totally what we are.
We're super
highest,
the very
highest end of.
Yeah. Like super mainstream, always talked about. People are always approaching me on the street about the fact that we do this podcast together. So yeah, we may as well play the part.
Yeah. Galen Naidu Harris, aka Mist Mando's Stephen A. Smith. And we move on for now the 9th stop on this year's OCC Provincial Qualifying Series, and it's taking us to beautiful Sudbury, Ontario for the 12th annual Blueberry Brawl. This tournament is a grind, as I was mentioning earlier. You play 4 rounds of 22 holes over 2 days on a tough, very hilly course. Lots of hills that you're walking up and down. But it's also one of my personal favorite trophies in all of disc golf. You get a blueberry pie and a custom pie server. I don't know how you can beat that. I was fortunate enough to stay, we rented a cottage with a group of us. There was 8 of us that were playing in the tournament that all stayed together. And my buddy Ryan actually went to the store where the trophy pies come from and bought one for us on the first night that we were there. So we got to have a little taste, and it did bring some fortune. Well, actually, I was going to say it brought some fortune for at least one person in the house, as Brady went on to win another tournament, winning an MA1 here. But he actually didn't even eat any of the pie on the opening night. So maybe it actually cursed the rest of us, and that's why Brady won, because it's like lifting the Stanley Cup before you win it. You can't have a taste of that pie until you actually win it. But cool trophy. The tournament also starts off with taking shots of blueberries together in these little red Solo shot cups, and they're delicious every time. I love blueberries, and where else do you get to kick off a tournament like that? Nowhere. So highly recommend anyone next year trying to sign up, although as you've heard in some previous podcasts, if you don't get in right away, it's kind of hard to get off the wait list, as a certain co-host on this show found out all too well this year. But we move on, and in FPO, it was the winners of our 2 previous events going head to head, with Alicia Hums trying to defend her 2023 title against Colleen McInnes. And in a tight battle, it was Colleen who eventually prevailed by 5 strokes for her 3rd straight tournament win and 6th win of the season and 50th career PDGA win of her career. Over at MPO, Chris O'Zolins continues his hot season as he outlasts Greg Grutenborg to take down a 5-stroke win, his 3rd straight tournament win, and 7th already this season. 2 dominating players showing up and taking down more wins. Oz shot or tied the hot round in all 4 rounds and averaged 10-15 rated. en route to the victory, which also gave him sole possession of second all-time for wins in Ontario, trailing only Marty Hendel, now by, I believe, 8 wins. So Oz moving his way up that list very quickly. Shawnee G, let's throw it over to you first here, and some of your thoughts on the Blueberry Brawl.
I've never played the course. I've never played the Brawl. It scares me as an out of shape disc golfer who barely survived Forefathers 2 rounds of 20 holes in the heat. I don't know that I could actually survive the Brawl. That is a lot of golf, and huge shout out to especially the MA70 division. MA70 division, Dan Gilbert, uncle of friend of the show, Thomas Gilbert, taking it down by 1 stroke. An amazing plus 15, 849 tournament average. Love to see it. Dan is one of the nicest guys in disc golf, and he absolutely hit it out of the park. And it's cool. It's such a great event. Definitely the best event in sort of that region of Ontario, and I do want to play it, but I'm afraid I may not actually survive it. So, we'll see. We'll see about next year.
You have some actual proof that you can withstand it. If the MA70s can do it, Shawnee G, so can you. Although maybe they're just a different breed. Maybe they're just different stallions.
Please do not underestimate how out of shape I am.
Well, I'm with you there. I'm still tired after the weekend, and I've had a full day to recover. Galen, did you have anything you wanted to add? I know you've been out here before.
Yeah, no. Dan Gilbert is definitely built different, as the kids say. Not much to add. You sort of alluded to it earlier. I didn't quite make it off the wait list. I would actually push back a little bit though on the notion that it's tough to get off of. Last year, I was a bad boy and I missed registration. By the time I registered, I was 27th or 29th on the wait list. At this point, it was like a few days after the registration had opened, and I was assuming there was no chance. But somebody's like, no, just be patient. And I actually made it all the way off. So last year, I made it in despite my best efforts not to. And this year, there was some stuff going on in my life. I was busy and missed the registration by not like a day or two, but by like a couple of weeks. And so I hopped on and I was 22nd on the wait list, and I went, there's no way. And then by a week out, I was 15th or 16th on the wait list. And I said, there's no way. And then 3 days out, I had gotten all the way up to 8th on the wait list. And I was like, maybe. But I just finished at 8th on the wait list and couldn't get in. I will say though, I absolutely adore the Brawl. I hope very much to be there next year. I'm jealous. We were talking about our top 5 courses. It was either last episode or a few episodes ago. You got to play 2 of my top 5 in the last couple of weeks. Sudbury's there for me, and Forefathers Open. Newcastle certainly is there for me. So love you get to play those. Love seeing some Bronte locals and a different Chris O'Zollins, not Chris Brown, and Colleen taking down the wins. I'm just, for me, I'm programmed, since I've only been in disc golf for a couple of years, since I've been involved, just to watch Chris and Colleen just sort of like act like buzzsaws and just cut their way through the FPO and MPO divisions in Ontario. And they both had a couple of setbacks, with some injury trouble. This just feels like business as usual, but I think now I'm like not taking it for granted. I was so used to every single event seeing those two take it down because they are so good. And then, every once in a while you mess up something in your leg and you're in a boot for a long time, or a scooter, or you have an injury that you push a little bit too hard, maybe in Chris's case, and, are not able to be quite at the level that you've come to expect and we've come to expect from you. So this feels very natural. This feels like coming home, just watching Chris and Colleen just absolutely destroy the pro divisions. So I'm happy to see it. I love to see it as something that's part of their club. Do you have any more thoughts you want to add there, Robbie?
Yeah, so a few more shout outs. Shawnee G mentioned it earlier. The pride of White Spruce, Jane Anderson Renton, went on to win another tournament to remain undefeated in 2024. She also hit an ace in a practice round beforehand, I believe, which shout out there. To top it off too, it was on a hole that I took a 10 on last year. So just to show the full spectrum of what's possible on some of these holes out at Sudbury, there is OB absolutely everywhere on this course for the Brawl. It is super challenging, but to go along with what Galen said, it's one of my favorite courses, one of my favorite tournaments. And it's a blast. And also wanted to give a shout out in MA40 to Lori Dotto, who he played in MA1 against me last year, and I believe we finished tied, or I may have beaten him by only a stroke. This year, he took down the win in MA40 by 10 strokes, but he's in his 60s. He can play an MA60 and plays MA1 and MA40 and still takes down wins, still is throwing out of production Vibram discs that I've literally never seen anywhere else in my life. He is one of the nicest people that I've met in disc golf. Always, no matter where I run into him, will always come up and say hi to me and have a little chat, a little catch up. Was unfortunate not to be able to play with him this year. It was awesome having him in MA1 last year, and really being reminded that disc golf skill has no age. But he decided to lay a beat down on some 40-year-olds instead this year and take down a 10-stroke win. So shout out to Lori, and that's all that I got for the Blueberry Brawl. So if there's nothing more from you guys, I think we can move along to some upcoming Ontario tournaments.
We've got some great tournaments that have registration open right now. First, I want to mention the Lake Ontario Open. Registration's open now. It is taking place at 3 of the best courses in Ontario: Newcastle, Haute Goat, and Cedar Creek, all east of Toronto. It's August 10th and 11th. You play 2 rounds. You play the Goat and Newcastle one day, and then Cedar Creek the other day. So registration is open. There's still a few spots left for that. Be sure to get on that. Next, if you want to jump the border into Western New York for the long weekend, there's the Aberdeen Glass Open. It's near Buffalo on a really good course there. Definitely a bunch of spots left there. Registration's open now for the Flying Ferguson Fall 4A in Kemptville, which is out towards the Ottawa way.
Say that 4 times fast.
No. That one will definitely sell out, so get on that one quick. And then a super fun, really, I thought the St. Catharines Showdown was going to be the most affordable tournament this year. But the Queer Disc Golf and Prince Edward County Disc Golf present the County Heat has taken that title. It's a fun, unsanctioned fundraiser tournament at the Black Creek or the Black Prince Winery course in Picton. It's only $10, and 100% of the proceeds are going to the LGBTQ youth line. There's only 36 spots in total because it's only a 9-hole course, so it's a bit limited. When it sells out, and it will sell out, maybe they'll add a couple ghost holes, who knows? But that's $10. I mean, come on, that's amazing. In terms of upcoming tournaments that are going to be played between now and our next show, the big one is the Guelph Royale, taking place this coming weekend at Eastview and Victoria Valley Golf Club. This is going to be super fun. It's a B tier. It's totally sold out. 2 really, really great Guelph courses. Vic Valley, you very rarely get to play other than this tournament and like the occasional league night. So kudos if you're on the playing list like me. Robbie, you in it?
Absolutely, I am in it, and I can't wait to get out there. And it's not technically my home courses as I live in Cambridge, but Guelph is my home club. That's where I play the most. So feels like a home tournament for me. I can't wait to get out there and compete.
You playing it, Galen?
No, I cannot make the Guelph Royale with cheese, unfortunately.
Alas.
I will be in British Columbia. But we'll be playing, I hope, around that time, the course that I played for my first round of disc golf ever. I picked it up with some cousins out there. There are a few tournaments that I'm missing the next 2 weeks. I'm leaving on the 28th and getting back on the 5th, so I missed 2 weekends of pretty great tournament golf. But I'm seeing family. I'll be throwing discs at a course that's got a lot of nostalgia for me, so I don't mind.
Cool. If you gotta miss some tournaments for a reason, that's going out to BC is a pretty darn good one.
Also, I just came up with that off the top of my head, and I don't care if it's hokey, but the Pulp Fiction reference. So if we could start calling it the Guelph Royale with cheese, I'd be very happy.
Why do they call it a Royale?
Sorry, I already see the stinky face from Sean. He's not going to. Robbie, I want you on my team with this.
Why do they call it a Royale with cheese?
The other
trick
event,
system.
The other event is
look at the big brain on Galen.
I'm gonna just turn off your mics and.
That button, it would have been used so many more times.
Don't tempt me, my friend.
I think he does.
The other big event this weekend is the Sleeping Giant Open up in Thunder Bay. It looks like there's still spaces available if you can get up there. I'm not sure if registration is still open. It would be pretty cool to play that one. It's just a little out of the way for me, but have a great time, everybody who's playing there and wherever everybody's playing this weekend. Get out there. Hopefully we'll have some nice weather for these events. And let's get throwing.
Yeah, and my dad was actually up. He has always been like an avid hiker, like overnight hikes, the big 50, 60-pound bag, the tent. And he was out in Sleeping Giant. I don't know if it's the name of the park or what it is. But in Thunder Bay, and the photos he was showing me is gorgeous. So I don't know what the proximity is to where he was hiking versus where people are playing, but I've heard great things, and he loved it up there. So get out there and throw some discs, and hey, if there are spots, and they'll let you get out to Sleeping Giant. But on another note, speaking of somebody who we have spoken of several times already this pod. Very excited now. As Robbie mentioned, since recording the interview, Colleen has won a couple of tournaments. Unfortunately, we didn't touch on either of those because they hadn't happened at the time, but always a genuine pleasure to talk to my friend Colleen McInnes about disc golf. Usually for me, it's on a Tuesday, at Bronte Creek as we're throwing and playing for some tags, but we were lucky enough to have her on the pod. So let's throw to that now. So excited to bring on Colleen McInnes. We'll be right back on Miss Mando. And welcome back to Miss Mando. Our next guest is a local and Canada-wide legend. She joined the PDGA in 2015, turned pro in 2017, and has been dominating Ontario disc golf ever since, racking up 35 pro wins in Ontario alone, which ranks her fourth all-time behind only Martin Hendel, Elaine King, and Chris O'Zolins. In 2023, she was all over DGN coverage when she placed second at the AFDO in Rochester. And this year, she is once again off to an amazing start with 7 top 3 finishes in 9 tournaments, 4 of which are wins, including her recent domination at the White Spruce Open. It is a pleasure to welcome to the Miss Mando podcast from Burlington, Ontario, my friend Colleen McInnes. Thanks for being here, Colleen.
Thank you so much, Galen. This is awesome. Thank you, Sean, for having me. You guys are famous now in the podcast world, so it's so cool. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
That is, we appreciate the lies. That's really
just keep buttering us up.
It worked.
I was told last week that we have a good lawnmower podcast, and I was like, I don't know what that means. And he's like, when I'm mowing my lawn, I put your podcast on. I was like, that sounds awesome.
We drone on like a small engine.
Yeah, exactly.
So you are still somewhat freshly back into the world of competitive disc golf after losing a fair bit of time to an injury late last year. when you were taking your Paige Pierce cosplay a little bit too seriously, and had to like go on a long little push scooter. I haven't known you long enough to see how, if you've had other like major injuries before or how you've recovered from them. What was that process like, and sort of, what kept you going? Because I know like 4 months with no disc golf for you must have been pretty difficult.
Yeah. I think I was lucky it happened when it did, in a lot of senses, because it was towards the end of the season. But it was kind of good and bad. Like, a lot of people said that, oh, well, good. It was in September, you missed the summer. But I was like all lined up to go to USWDGC and a few other events down there. And so it was just it was then throw pink, which I qualified so many times and I've never gotten to go to it just because of things like this happening. So it was kind of heartbreaking at first when I had to literally drop out of 3 tournaments, and then just kind of sit around for a bunch. But I think part of what made me like get through a lot of it is just the community of disc golf it's such an interesting group of people. And I find all the time where you see people showing up to events that aren't playing that day. They're just hanging out, or they're spotting, or they're caddying for someone, or they're just walking around looking at all their friends and cheering people on. And so you get a lot of that all the time. And so it's a very welcome thing to just show up and hang out at a tournament all day. And people are so happy to see you all the time. And so having that where I kind of had an excuse to go, especially because I couldn't drive. So Chris was driving still and going to all these things, and I got to tag along. That helped a lot, to be able to cheer people on and still kind of engage in the disc golf community. But putting club saved me for sure, because I was still in a boot and I was going. I took the scooter one time all the way to East End Putting League. I had to because I couldn't drive. I had to get on the GO train and take a streetcar over there, and then scooter down the road to get to Putt Club. And I wasn't quite putting all of my weight on my foot yet, so I was still doing a straddle putt and everything, which improved my straddle putt tremendously. But yeah, a lot of those little things that you can engage in. So if I didn't have Putt Club, I think I would have gone a little stir crazy, not doing anything at all. And even then, that was still, I had to wait probably about 3 months before I could do any of that anyways. So yeah, it was just, the timing was good, but having those connections, so many friends and to go see, and Chris driving me around and stuff. So that helps a lot. And it was funny because I know you guys both know that he also injured himself just shortly after I did. And no offense to him, but every time I saw him still limping, it was reassurance to myself that I was doing the right thing and easing back. And I'd go play a round, and Chris would play a second round after, and I'd just hang out there because I don't want to push too hard. And so I was really pacing myself to progress back. And I think it's paid off tremendously, because I had a lot of issues going into the first part of the season, but now I feel I ran to my car to go grab something at the tournament this weekend, and I was like, man, I feel normal running again. So
that's awesome. It was, at Ficklewood last year, it was heartbreaking that you weren't able to play, and it was tough to watch. It was oh, I know she wants to be playing so badly.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that you're basically back to pre-injury or pretty close.
Yeah, I think this weekend was more reassurance. When I played Bronte a few weeks ago, we had to play 2 rounds in one day and then 1 round the next day. And that's kind of been my gauge, is 2 rounds has been really tough and in one day. And so I felt really good after Bronte. And I Monday, I did feel I felt all of it after, but I got through the rounds without feeling uncomfortable. And then at White Spruce, there was it was virtually no issue. So it's feeling a lot better. And there was a little revelation with my physiotherapist. Part of my foot was kind of like collapsed in like how it sits, so it's not like my toes aren't pushed up enough. And so she gave me an insole to wear. I can't wear it during disc golf because it's when you turn it, like it's going to create so many blisters there if I wear it. So I'm just wearing it right now when I'm just walking around, and that has helped a lot. So constant therapy and like checking in with myself. And, you know, it's funny, Ficklewood too, there was like 4 of us there that went to that tournament injured just to watch. If we were all hanging out by the pond with Mr. B and just watching everyone come in. So
yeah, I love that. And you were sort of talking earlier about, you know, like how you were still able to participate in the community while you were injured. And like, you know, for me, like I'm still relatively new to disc golf, at least in the context of a lot of the people that I know. And so like, I don't know a ton of people that have had a major injury and been taken out of it for a while. So I don't know if you told me yourself or somebody mentioned your injury when it first happened. And I was like, oh man, I'm not going to see Colleen for like X number of months. And then like still seeing you at Putt Club and seeing you at Tags on Tuesday, just sort of keeping our favorite picnic table company. It was nice and it felt natural, which is cool. That's not always, you know, an energy that you get with different sports, the participation from the public and the sort of interaction between like players and spectators and friends and partners and all that. I don't know. It's cool. It's what I love about disc golf.
yeah, definitely.
I know that, Colleen, you are absolutely like an integral component of the disc golf community here in Ontario, and everybody loves seeing you out and competing again, and everybody's very happy to see it. I mean, maybe not your competitors that you keep smashing, but everybody else.
I know I might be
does have to play against you.
Might be ruffling a few feathers with some TDs lately, but yeah, just
hey, you ruffle away. We got your back. So something that I wanted to sort of mention, you know, I don't know if you know this, might be a little bit of a brief intro here, but you were involved in some of the very first disc golf coverage I ever watched. The Bronte Creek Pros versus Joes, the 2020 Provincials, to a burgeoning young disc golfer unextraordinaire. Like I had no frame of reference, whether it was like True North, Canadian Disc Golf Productions, Jomez. It was all the same. I picked up disc golf during COVID. And for me, the local coverage was more fun because there were times there where like I couldn't go and play at Bronte. I couldn't go and play at Christie. I think even at the times that I watched some of these rounds, like I had never played Bronte or Christie, but I knew they were 20 minutes away. And I knew that I was watching some really cool people shred those courses and could sort of look forward to whenever the heck life gets back to vaguely normal that I can go and play that course myself. And you were one of the people that was on the coverage that I was watching at that really weird time in our lives. Being on coverage, I'm sure, isn't new to you at this point, but this is more for my personal interest than because it's a great podcast question per se. How do you find being on coverage when you do find yourself there? Do you enjoy it? Do you dislike it? What are the vibes?
I do. I love it because of like what you just said. I've had countless people tell me that they were going to play Toronto Island and they watched the True North coverage of that to see the course because it's kind of hard to get to and stuff like that. And people saying that they watched the FPO coverage to prep for tournaments because like it's a lot more realistic for average players than watching like some of the top MPOs where they're going over holes that like the average person is not going to do. So I really love how a lot of people in Ontario have perpetuated and fought for that coverage. And I think that that's like probably one of the most impactful things that like has come out of FPO is just having that kind of exposure to women being able to play. Like when I first saw Paige Pierce and all them in person, it was so much cooler to watch coverage after because, you know, I'm seeing like I went to Arizona and watched them play and then watched that coverage and it's like, you know, I can get to those shots and like it's more realistic in that sense. It's more relatable. So I think that like it really started way, way long ago, what you're talking about, some of the coverage was Oz, and he was like doing the women's event and just getting him and a buddy to like go out and film it and just
on like the ODSA YouTube page, right?
Yeah, and that's
Some
of the oldest coverage we have of Ontario, in like that sense. And like there's like some old coverage of, I know like some players who have been playing for like 15 or 20 years have old Ontario stuff, but for FPO it was just really cool that early on to have that, and then kind of got picked up by True North, and then Wally's been doing a lot for Canadian Disc Golf Productions, and so it's cool to have that, and to have that like for the average person to be able to see all the beautiful courses in Ontario, be able to be like, oh wow, that looks wonderful, I want to go there, or be able to prep for a course that way. It's just wildly impactful. So that's really exciting, and I love that aspect of it. But there's like a lot of nerves when you're on coverage, and it doesn't really matter so much if it's Wally or if it's like Jomez, because it's really just that idea of doing something that you might regret on TV, or saying something dumb or doing something embarrassing. So a lot of like the experiences I've had have been really good, because the people on the card, like we are all nervous, and we're all nervous together, so we're all making each other laugh and ease that tension. And like it's kind of some of the best rounds I've ever had have been filmed, just because of that like shenanigans that you're kind of pulling. And I know when we were at nationals this year or last year, like Irina was just so much fun to play with, and we were laughing and joking the whole time. And when we played AFDO, like Holly was just hilarious, and just someone I've never played with before, and I've seen on camera looking so serious, but she was so funny. We were dying laughing the whole time, and it made it like a lot more fun, because we were doing silly things like, and like that's where that banana thing with Holly came from, was we were joking with the camera guys, trying to like get them to film different bits that we were doing, like, oh, you film this, like, oh, look at what this person's doing, like trying to get them to film silly things. Like I held up as much Canadian stuff as I could. I was like holding up like the Canadian women's event logo and like the all that stuff. So it was fun to like do that kind of thing. And I think that very much is like that Sai and Anda kind of vibe is like what I try to emulate. Like I met her years ago when my first time playing a Pro Tour event at Worlds. And we exchanged like little tokens. She gave me like a little bracelet, and I gave her, I think, a Canada pin or something. And it was just cute. And then like to see her on coverage the way she was, I was like, that is so much her. Like to play with her, that's genuinely, she is looking at the mushrooms and picking flowers and stuff. And so, I mean, that's what I liked so much about watching her. And I think a lot of people feel that. So I was like, I want to be happy the whole time and bubbly and fun. So I try to do stupid things that maybe will get a laugh out of people, or have people back home be like, oh, that's our club, or something like that. So yeah, I think that's a lot of fun. But it, you know, for anyone who's never been on coverage, it's so nerve wracking. I've been on so many cards in FPO where someone's never been on coverage. Like it happened to Rebecca Dawn earlier this year at Project 15, and she was just like, oh my gosh. And you know, sometimes people have those nerves come out on film. Go watch that coverage, because she did not. She dominated. It was so fun to watch. So yeah, it can be nerve wracking, but it doesn't really go away. That's all. It's always there. I'm sure even a lot of the people on the Pro Tour, like, you know, unless you're getting interviewed every single day, it's still nerve wracking when you go up there. Like, even if you are, because you're just always like concerned about just not making a fool of yourself.
I remember recently when Chantel had her first interview on DGN, pre-round interview, and at the end she had the big exhale.
Yeah,
like, it's over, and it was so unguarded and so like a natural reaction. I absolutely loved it. and I'm glad that it didn't get like cut, because it was like pros are people, you're human people, and like that natural reaction, and you can be nervous even when you're performing at your highest level. It's still it's very endearing to see those kind of human moments. Anyway, I thought it's
that was really
cool.
cute.
It was very cute. It was very cute. So you are not only absolutely destroying obviously the local scene, but 2022 you were on the World Flying Disc Federation Team Canada delegation to Croatia, if I'm remembering that correctly. Yeah. And now you're registered for the 2024 Australian Open. What's that all about? That's a long way from home in southwestern Ontario. Are you part of the 2024 team going there? And are you pretty excited?
Yeah. So I did go to Croatia to represent Canada, and it's doubles and singles, but it's match play, team play. So if you're facing another country, you have doubles, like a male and female playing a male and female, and then a single from your country playing a single from theirs. So you'd have 3 people from your country and 3 people from theirs, and then another card with the same thing. So and then you just go face to face with countries, and it's like kind of like a round robin and then bracket kind of thing. So we did really well in Croatia, and we came 3rd, which was really cool to bring home a medal and place and to win to get that medal. Because going into the finals there, we were fighting for 3rd, which was great to come out with that. It was a little stressful because I had to do a playoff. But yeah, it was really exciting to represent Canada. And I think I heard about it because it's not even that old. I think they've only been doing it for, I think this is the 6th time, and it's every other year. So it's only like a decade or so old. And it started in BC. So it's been going all around the world now, and all the way to the other side of the world, so to Australia this year. And we do take like a bunch of people on the team. So we're actually bringing 4 FPOs with us, I think. I'm fairly sure. Because me, Christy Lee, Karen Martell, and Sophia. And so we have a selection kind of to choose from at that point. And then some of us will not play as we get closer to the finals. So it'll depend on like a little bit of like how we stand between like rating wise amongst all of us, and then how we're performing at the event. So, but we'll all play at some point. And so it's kind of exciting to get selected. It's a process that starts in December. So a lot of people in Ontario don't know all of this information, because like really I went, and I don't know if anyone else from Ontario had gone before that. So it's an application process. They email the top rated male and female players in Canada and ask you if you'd like to apply. If you apply, then they select from who's been chosen. So for example, like Chantel's not coming, just because probably when it came out, she was like, financially, what am I going to do next year? She's on tour, so it's a little bit of a bigger choice for her. Which is why Thomas didn't come when we went to Croatia, but he is coming now for Australia. So, it's just the right moment in people's lives, whether or not it's right for them, which is why a lot of people from Ontario haven't gone in the past, because it is a big commitment.
Especially going to the exact opposite side of the earth, basically. Yeah. Earth is not just around the corner.
Yeah. A long flight. It's, I think,
several long flights.
Several flights. Like ours is like 26 hours or 28 or something, and there was like 33. It could be like, if you're trying to go cheap, like 40 hours to get there. So it's like a lot when you're traveling for almost 2 days. But
I wonder how many throws you'd have to do in a row to get from Perth to Toronto.
oh man, that would be cool.
Somebody should crunch the numbers.
All
There
of
was
them.
a guy who I feel like he went across when they were just in Finland. He like disc golfed across Finland or something.
There was a guy who just is like last week he did like a 38 mile disc golf hole.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like amazing, ridiculous. Took him
That's
23 and a half hours.
That's crazy.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that's too much time, too little, or just right. Like I have no frame of reference for throwing that many miles and how long that's supposed to take. That's wild.
I feel like without the satisfaction of getting in a basket every now and then, it might be a little daunting to keep going.
That would be a lonely day. I'm just throwing down like a highway. Like I would be so miserable by the end of it. Okay, so bringing it back from Croatia and Australia and Finland to Ontario, I know something that's a big part of the local disc golf landscape and of your personal calendar is the GTA Cup. I was lucky enough to be a bench warmer last year, and I'm always keen to know what's going on. How do you feel about Bronte's performance this year, and what do we have to look ahead to for next year?
Yeah, we did pretty good this year. We got dominated by Edge. I would say it's pretty safe to say that. I think they could have like not shown up for the last two matches and still won or something. Like it was ridiculous. But we had a well fought second place. It was like tight there, and we're trying to compete with Edge, but they've got like quite a team. And it's interesting because if you look at their team, there's a lot of Toronto Island players. If you look at the island, there's a lot of generally just all over Toronto players. So they have a tough time like figuring out where people should play. And once you get on a team, you're kind of like, I don't want to leave. So they did a really good job of picking up players and are pretty stacked right now. But with that being said, this year we've been honing in on a lot of like new Bronte people that are been really grinding and stuff. So I really think we have a more solid team going into next year. Definitely there are people that are going to be, maybe sad that they don't make the cut again, because there's these new people just popping out of nowhere all the time, right? And it's gotten actually quite competitive on the female side for Bronte because there's so many women playing now. And, we actually opened up for applications last year and had so many women apply that we like had to pick and choose and like really go down to like ratings and performance and them versus the courses. Like we even looked up like comparatively with a few people about how they did at Spruce last year, how they did at the Bronte event last year, stuff like that. So yeah, it's like, we don't want to make it, it's not like a friend thing of like you get on the team because you know people. And we want to make sure that that's like very clear. So the Bronte Club has put out some guidelines for us to kind of follow and make sure that it's like the best team that we have to actually offer, not just, oh, this person who doesn't play on any team, but they live 2 hours away. Let's pull them on. So we're very much trying to like go core Bronte. But yeah, it's going to come together this year, I think, a lot better. So Edge better watch out. Better.
Just to jump back to that 38 mile disc golf hole, I was curious. So I was in the background while you guys were talking. So if you started at hole 1 at Bronte and you threw across the lake to hole 18 at Fireman's, you would be 2 miles short. That's about 36 miles as the crow flies.
Oh my goodness.
That's pretty
So yeah,
cool.
yeah. It's like, I forget, he like counted how many throws it was and all this other stuff.
It's
Ridiculous.
with that local frame of reference, it seems all the more insane. Like I can't envision ever just like taking a disc or a few discs and throwing from Bronte to Fireman and then adding 2 miles.
Yeah.
Like that's wild.
But if you did, Colleen, what would be your sort of go-to discs? What discs are you liking this year? What's in your bag? What are you throwing? I don't know your bag at all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What are you liking? What are you slinging?
I actually had this conversation the other day, where I pulled out some of my discs. I have 10 different manufacturers.
Love it.
in the bag, which is insane, and it's kind of like very telling about like how hard it would be to get sponsored or something like that and go for like one brand. That'd be a struggle. But
Yeah.
what we found out was that if I did, it would be very opportunistic for me to go with Trilogy. So a lot of the discs that I lean on are Trilogy related.
Interesting.
Which, if people don't know, is DD, Dynamic Discs, Latitude, and West Side. So yeah, and I have 4 putters in my bag. They're all 4 different manufacturers. I have 6 mid ranges. All 6 of them are different manufacturers. So like, it's kind of a hodgepodge. But yeah, I do have like a few that I really, really lean on a lot. And this year, probably one of the biggest stars has been my wave. I think it's a fusion wave.
A lighter weight one?
It's like,
or you go max weight.
It's
fusion is usually a little bit. They have some lighter options.
Yeah, I think it's like in the 60s, but I think it's like
Nice.
167 or 9 or something like that. Like not too light, but like definitely max weight is. It's a vibe for some discs, but you're not always looking for max weight for everything. But yeah, that one, and it's because I was at Knock a few years ago and I lost my turn. It was the only distance driver I had, and I was playing Dragon Hills, and I was like, "This is such a long course. I need another distance driver for the next round." So I bought a Grace and a Wave, and I threw them. And this is like a few years ago, and then I was like, "That was great," and threw them away when I got a new turn, and then pulled them back out last year. And I really liked the Grace, so I've been throwing that a lot over the last year. But then just at the end of last year, and then now coming back this year, the Wave has been kind of like what I was looking for to complement my Escape. So I throw my Escape a lot, and Escape, for a lot of people, they love it, but the people who don't, it's because you didn't find one you liked, to be honest. There's so many variations and like the slight amount more that they flip, and which, plastic and all that. And mine's super beaten in, so it's very reliable for that turnover. And the Wave has been like what I was looking for to get a little bit more distance, but very reliably, and not like it's going to just flip over like crazy on me. So that's been huge. And ironically, like the Envy has been really, really big the last year for me. For me, it's such a straight flying disc. I have the Glow Envy, so it's a little bit more, it's not as flippy as some of the other molds. But yeah, those two and both MVP have been like some of my favorites. Yeah. Oh man, mine looks almost exactly like that with the purple too. It's
And I got to say, a Wave is just such a spectacular disc. I have gotten my furthest throws on forehand and on backhand with a mid 150s plasma Wave. Don't ever ask me to replicate the numbers, the distance of that throw, because it's not going to happen again for the forehand or backhand. But interestingly enough, like using UDisc, like down to the foot, precisely the same max distance of all time, and using the same plasma Wave at like 155 for both. Like I just, it's so good for extending those throws. I love it.
Yeah. So that's been huge. That's like what you're looking for sometimes, is just ones that are just so reliable for you to do something so technical. Because when I'm in like tunnel tree shots, I love hyzer flipping my Escape. So to have something that's like a little bit farther to be able to do that with is just huge. So that's what's hard about being sponsored and flipping over, because finding that disc is one thing, but you can't always. You sometimes buy like 3 or 4 of the same disc, same mold and everything, just to find the one that like you feel comfortable with. And it's pretty important to like trust your discs. So I've definitely worked in my bag for years now, and I should do an in the bag and
You
talk
should.
about all my different ones, but
You totally should.
it's very eclectic. I know there's an in the bag that I did with True North, and there's certain discs that that was like years ago, and I still have in my bag that I've had for like 8 years. So yeah, there's some reliable ones in there.
That's awesome.
We definitely need an update on that.
Yeah, my bag captain is like 3 years old, so I would love to meet the discs that have been there for 8+ years.
Yeah.
So whether it's discs you've had in your bag for a long time or a short amount of time, they are being used quite a bit. You play just about every tournament, especially locally. Looking maybe specifically to Ontario, but feel free to expand if you want to. What are your top must-play tournaments on the calendar for the year that you most look forward to? Any Pro Tour events? What are you excited about in 2024?
Yeah, there's a few, and I think like this event we just played at White Spruce has a special place in my heart, because the White Spruce Open has been running for so long, and it did take a lapse there, but like Breezy Trees back in the day, and so that was like the first course I ever played on. So I always love going back there, and I hope FPOs will come back and play with me next year. But that is like one of those ones where, I know everyone at the club. I go to club every week and I love everybody there. And same with the Bronte events. But Project 15 is always one. If Josh Sachs did interviews with all these pros this year. Little quick interviews about just like, and it was cute. You got to hear stuff about people that you didn't really know. Almost every single one of them said Project 15 was in their like top 5 or top 3 courses, because it's just that good quality and beauty and everything mixed together. And then like Gabe is just the nicest human ever. So it's always putting us. But that is one that I always purposely go to, because we used to go to Peterborough every year for River Meet and stuff like that, and they stopped doing those. And so Project 15 has been like the only way to get out there consistently. So that's one I always look forward to every year. And we have a bunch coming up that are really exciting. Like Provincials is always really exciting to go to no matter where it is, because it's like the culmination of the whole year. Everyone's pumped now about qualifying. I'm so glad they brought that back. That's kind of fun. And they hammered it out this year, so it's better. No, yeah. At least you don't have to go first anymore.
Oh, I still have to come third, though. Yeah. I'm going to be in support of Provincials, I think, this year.
Chris didn't qualify last year, and then he came second. So he beat some POs that beat him all year.
Probably going to be on photographer duty.
Yeah.
Well, that is hugely important on its own, because like those photos you take are so cool and so beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm doing it.
I'm sad. I'm missing it this year. I mean, I'm not going to qualify anyway, but maybe there's a small chance. But I would have hoped to pirate one of those like last, like there's like 2.5 spots and registration at 9 p.m. and you just go to the free for all. But my best friend is getting married that weekend, so like there is a 0% chance, like not even as a spotter. So I'm so excited for his wedding, but also part of me is like, well, I'm looking forward also to next year, in late October when I can come back. And
did you ask him to consider move the wedding?
Hey, there's an idea.
If
we can get a refund at the venue, we'll talk to the guests. We'll recall all those save the dates. Yeah,
it'll be fine. Hard.
I think revolve around this stuff.
Yeah,
it should. 100%. I don't know why it doesn't.
It's weird that there are people who it doesn't.
Sean, you can always get your club spot. That's always a way.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either. White Spruce is just too big.
Yeah. They'll go to someone who cuts the grass and does all the
yeah.
heli.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other one I wanted to say that I'm looking forward to is D-Glow that I normally look forward to. But this year kind of sucked. They raised, actually, I don't think they raised, maybe they did. I can't remember, but it was $9.30 to be able to register in the first tier for D-Glow. And I was $9.27. So I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then it filled up really, really quick. So I'm 5th on the wait list, but it's one that I try to go to every year. Yeah. I'm going to CCR, which is down there. It's real close. I was like, I'm just going to go to D-Glow after CCR and try and qualify on the Monday.
Oh, cool. Walk on.
Just, if I don't qualify, maybe I'll just hang out and like go walk around with people. But yeah, that's one I look forward to every year. D-Glow's like toboggan's one of my favorite pro tour courses. A little bit biasly because it's the closest pro tour event to us. So it is one that is like, oh, I can almost reach it. Like, I wish I was there. So that FOMO of I really want to go. But yeah, so that's one I always look forward to every year as well. So I'm hoping to get out there, but we will see.
We will be watching for you on coverage if you do.
Yeah. And we have a special event we're going to this year too. After we play in Australia, we're going to play a A-tier down there. So that'll be
cool.
Oh, that's fun.
I mean, if you're going all that way, you might as well get in more than one tournament.
Yeah. I think ironically, the only FPOs are possibly Canadians. I think it's it's like me, Karen, and Sophia, and then Christy signed up for FP40, and there's only one other girl in that division. So it's just like, hopefully someone else. We're hoping maybe people will stay after and sign up, or maybe like some local women just haven't signed up yet. But yeah.
So here's what I'm wondering. Much like with the toilets, I wonder if you throw a well-placed backhand if the disc rotates in the opposite direction as it's flying when you're down in Australia. We'll have to have somebody report back on that.
Maybe all the skips are all counter skips because it's like skips the wrong way. Yeah. We'll just
say. We'll have to have you back on post-tournament and we'll figure it out.
Damn you, Coriolis effect.
I'm just hoping to fight any kangaroos for any discs.
No problem. I assume this going to happen.
Jacked. Like, I've never seen a kangaroo that's not just like absolutely shredded and ready to fight. So stay away.
Coming back to home. You mentioned getting into fights with tournament directors. I'm always in favor of this. What do you think is missing from Ontario disc golf or Canadian disc golf, certainly in particular for the women's divisions that could help grow? You mentioned that you hope the women come back to play against you at the White Spruce Open. I know it was only the four of you this event, and really there's 7 or 8 in total sort of FPOs that you regularly play against, but there's not the division doesn't seem to be growing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
What do you think is sort of missing that might be able to help, grow the sport, especially for the women's field, in particular, maybe perhaps the pro women's field?
Yeah, it's kind of hard. There are lots of schools of thought. I don't think there's one good answer, and there's not just one answer in general. One thing, more coverage is really good. The more you're filming women, the more that you're gonna get that appeal for women to play and to work up towards that. But I do think there's some things that I've seen done that I think can work. And one, taking a cue from the Disc Golf Pro Tour, doing different pars, different tee pads, different layouts that complement the FPO division. I really strongly feel like the MA1s are really more where we are in skill level. And then as well, probably MP50 or MA40, those divisions as well. And I think like MP40 and MPO want to play the same layouts a lot. And I know a lot of MA1s do, but I just don't think you can justify, like, I think it's a growing problem in Ontario where you can't justify telling me you want to play the same layout as MPO, but you want to stay in MA1 forever. And then, you know, people are fighting for that. So MA1s sometimes will get the same layout as MPO and FPO gets an easier layout. And it's like, you know, I appreciate that we are getting an easier layout to what should be appropriate for us, but it pulls away all of those propagators that I feel would be more relevant to us. And then, you know, the justification is, well, they want to see where they stack up to MPO. It's like, great, but they don't move up. So
they could play MPO.
Yeah.
It's open. Yeah.
We have this huge problem right now where you can have MP like pro tournaments and put an MA1, FA1, MA40, FP40, and then have all the pro divisions, and you can fill a tournament that way, but you really can't fill a pro tournament. And I think it's a growing issue, and I don't think it's a problem, but it's a growing issue in the community because I just watched Lauren win at White Spruce. I don't want to put Lauren on the spot, but she does flip-flop a bit between FA2 and FA1 depending on the course, which is right for her to do because like that's thinking about your game and thinking about who you're competing against and that kind of thing, and it's doing the right thing for you, maybe for your ratings or for the layout, whatever. But you have a lot of that, and you never have that in FPO where like someone's kind of going back and like it's much rarer. And a lot of women feel like when they move up to the pro division that they have to stay there. I mean, like we just saw Anna play FPO, and she's probably not going to play it again at, you know, provincials or something, or like, you know, a longer course or something like that. She might feel more comfortable going back to FA1, but it's not as common for women to kind of flip-flop up and down and kind of test it out. So I think that would be nice to help improve. Like, I hope they would start to maybe feel more comfortable doing that, especially if it's like their home course. Like I was saying about Lauren, I don't expect her to move up to FPO at all because she won a tournament, but I hope next year she might consider moving up to FPO for her home course that she just won on, right? Mm-hmm. And she probably will, right? But that's not always the case. And when people have ups and downs to then circle back the next year and they've had all these ups and downs and they go, well, but I'm still not up there. And you're like, yeah, but you got to take that plunge and do it, right? So that as well is, I think, something that, you know, I hate seeing tournaments where there's 4 MPOs. Like, we have so many more MPOs in Ontario than that. So we're just not getting the drive for people to kind of commit as much as I kind of do. Not that they have to at all, but it's appealing.
They absolutely have to. Yeah.
But one of the things that I've seen done in the States, and I think that it kind of ties into a lot of issues, but I went to a tournament down there. There was like 4 or 6 FPOs or something, and 2 guys in the community had donated $200 each to the pro purse, but specifically only to female. And so they were trying to bump it up and get more females signed up, and it like drew some of us out from Canada, right? And then like it's just a very unique thing to happen in the community. So not that I think people singularly should be going and doing that, but as a community, like, we need to start thinking more strategically about the way we're getting sponsorship for tournaments. I think the ODSA was on a good track there with getting Forefathers. They had sponsored the entire O Cup series one year, and that was really cool because you're not having to go every single tournament and find all these sponsors. You're getting someone who's going to get more bang for their buck because they're going through a whole series, that kind of thing. Like, we need TDs to start talking to each other about sponsorships, maybe link up with other tournaments in your community. Like, if you're doing Bronte and the Beast and the Bronte Classic, different TDs, but share those kind of connections you have. maybe Chris gets a tournament sponsor that carries over, like he goes, hey, we have another tournament and it carries over to Simon's event. So like we need to do more of that, a lot more of that, because going to a tournament with an $80 pass-through fee on a $125 event and telling me that $45 is going to our pro payout, and then people saying, well, you know, it's disc golf and you really shouldn't like to care that much about the money. It's like, no, I don't really care about that much about the money. But that's why a lot of us are going down to Rochester and going down to New York and going playing those events instead of our local events, because we're doing things like pool sponsorship for early registration. And then the TD is going, great, now I have $1,800. I don't need to go find anyone to sponsor the event. And that as much as, you know, we want to have a good event for everyone, you're not caring about the added cash for the pros. So there's no appeal for us to come. And, you know, I think that is an ugly, unfortunate part of disc golf is like, you know, you gotta get more money into it. And I love going to, you know, the unsanctioned, the doubles and the glowy and tie-dye event. But if you're looking at like competitive atmosphere, we're losing out a lot in the pro divisions because we're not always pushing that kind of narrative to actually make it a real career. Like a lot of us are spending every single weekend doing this. And there's all these people who look up to us and saying, I want to throw like you and you inspire me. But like, we're doing pretty much the same grind as all those amateurs. It's not like we're making money out here, like with the hotels and like all that. So it, you know, it really, in a lot of senses, it is kind of about the money to get that perpetuated a bit. So there's a lot of different things that can happen to support the pro divisions in general, the FPO division. I think a lot of TDs are doing a really good job of asking the women about our layouts and our division. But I had 2 experiences this year, and one where the TD went and messaged a bunch of us who played last year, asked us about it, asked me about the pars, even asked people to go play the course. And then I had another TD 2 days before the event tell us that we're being isolated, self-propagating, and none of us had any idea. And they didn't ask any of us. And so it's like, and that comes from, oh, well, the TD thought, like the guy who ran it last year said that was a good idea. Or we also get like we had them say, well, we just wanted to try it out this year. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. And that's not the issue. The issue is that another TD wanted to try that out this year and they asked us. And we were all like, yeah, let's try it out. But when you don't ask us, there's no understanding that this is trying it out and we will give you feedback. It's just, we're just like, okay, you're just putting us here because you think it's right. And, you know, those are all male TDs. So like, I don't get it. But with that being said, like a lot of people, that's not their main priority, is making sure the FBO feels comfortable. You have like sometimes 200 people at your event and you got like players tax and orders in, all that. So it's, you know, but there is a lot of people that are doing great work with that. So there's a lot of different avenues to go down, but I think considering sponsorship more seriously, consider it maybe months ahead or a year ahead even, like start getting sponsorship for your events now. Like there's no reason not to start going out into the community and canvassing and making connections, maybe even with your club. Like we have a whole bunch of people at Spruce that go to a bar after. Like, why don't we have that bar sponsoring our club? Let's stop going there if they're not going to sponsor it. So, you know, like we pay them hundreds of dollars every week. So yeah, we just need to like get better at that, I think. And the community will kind of grow more in the pro division from there. And like, that goes nationally too. Like we need a national tour. If we want pros like Rebecca to grow up and think she can actually do this as a career, like she's thinking, I got to get a sponsorship so that I can get a permit to be able to work in the States, and I got to be coming back every few months. Like it is a life that you can sustain and do, but how cool would that be to have a Canadian tour? So yeah, you're going down to hop on to some of the American tour, but you got your Canadian tour to do as well. Like I think that would be really cool. And I think that that's kind of the future that nationally we should really, as small communities, be building up to. Like, what's our biggest event in Ontario? How can we coordinate that with Quebec and like New Brunswick and PEI to have kind of a ripple effect go down and all the way to BC, or the opposite way, like start with BC Open and ripple all the way down and all the way to PEI when they have theirs in September. You know, it would be really cool to have something that people could hop onto. So I know Parked Pro is trying to, that's basically what their whole MO is to get a pro tour going so that they have coverage to film. And I think the more people can do for that, you know, like the more that you can do for your local community and national community as well. So
100%. Yeah. And like, you know, I'm just talking out of my ass a little bit here because I haven't ever TD'd a tournament, but like, I don't think it should be this insurmountable barrier. For me, it should be, you know, sort of to even sort of begin the conversation about like running a successful event, you should, you know, engage the female pros that might play in that event, and also be cognizant of their thoughts on what a layout should look like. Not just say, I'm either going to test this out, or I'm doing this because it's the layout the men are playing, or do this because it's the layout that this division is playing, and just unilaterally do that. But maybe be thoughtful about it and engage with the people that will come to your events, and you know, ensure that like FPO should never be a division that's an afterthought at a tournament. And I don't think that it takes an awful lot of time or energy, and perhaps I'm wrong again because I don't have much of a frame of reference here, but I don't think it should be a ton of time or energy or this insane barrier to clear to just, you know, reach out to the pros and see how they feel, and engage in those conversations as you work towards it. Because sort of, as you were saying, it's not that decision A or B or X or Y is a problem in and of itself, but it's the, you know, father knows best mindset that I have a problem with. You know, just it shouldn't be challenging to engage the people that can play in your tournament about what that tournament should look like.
yeah. Well, it's hard. It's like a child, you know, you're adopting something that your community has expectations about, and you're putting on an event with all these people judging you. And then you have someone come up and say like, hey, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to announce the playoff layout prior to the event, not 5 minutes before they do it. So just, you know, and then the way people respond to that, I've almost never had a TD be happy that I came over to tell them the rule. And sometimes they act like I am doing this to get them in trouble or I'm mad at them. I couldn't care. You know, if I cared that much, I wouldn't even talk to you. I'd go email the PDGA because you're breaking a rule and that's how it works. But you know, when you go and say something to a TD, there is a lot about the context of how you say it. And I will be the first to admit I'm not always the greatest at that. But like when you do bring something up, it really shouldn't be, well, it doesn't matter. Oh, well, who cares? Like, oh, thanks. I'll make sure I do that next time. Like, why can't it just, you know, be that easy? And it shouldn't come to people feeling like they can't say anything. And there's this whole toxic culture. I hate it so much about like, well, they're volunteers, so you should be nicer. I'm not trying to be mean when I say things that I think are wrong or I think are unfair or I think should be fixed. And people take it that way and go like, you know, it's so much work and they're volunteering to do this. And well, if you think before I ran a tournament, I can't tell you how many times I got, you don't know how hard it is to run a tournament because you've never run one. And like that idea, that is just so toxic. It's putting people down for either their ability, maybe mentally, they can't organize something. They're not that leader person. Maybe they don't have the time. Maybe they're honestly someone like you, Galen, who's just far too busy actually in the community doing really hard work. So you can't do tournaments and run stuff. So there's a lot of reasons why people don't have those experiences. And I think when you discount it as, well, they're a volunteer, and you should be nicer and don't be so harsh, or you shouldn't. Who cares about that? Like, I've had people say, well, do you really care about, like, does that really matter to you? It does. Because, like, does it really matter to that person on my card when I foot fault and they call me on it? Yeah, because it's the rule and they have to call me and they're obligated because that's part of the rules as well. And so when a TD does something that they don't know, and I know that rule, or I know that they're doing that wrong, and I go tell them, I feel like, and then this is apparently like maybe a little bit of ADD or something, but I feel obligated to go and tell you that was wrong so that you can do it right next time. Like, I genuinely think I'm helping. A lot of people take it the wrong way. So I think that can be frustrating. I mean, this year I had a TD ignore my question, answer everybody else's questions, talk to everybody else about everything. And only when I emailed the PDGA did they fix the thing that was wrong. And like, it just is like really disrespectful because they don't like me that they're choosing not to do that. They think I'm annoying, or they think I'm, I don't know, causing drama or trouble or whatever. But like, the reality of it is especially as a TD, there's a document called the Tour Standards that you should probably read. You should probably just read it and know it, and like, not memorize it. Nobody expects that. You're going to make mistakes. Everybody knows that. There's going to be problems with tournaments, or, you know, errors that happen. But like, to not even read these documents, go into a tournament, and then, you know, sometimes tell me I'm wrong about something that you didn't even look up and you didn't even read, is just a little ridiculous. So I think that there is a little bit more accountability that needs to be held and towards everyone. When situations happen this weekend, people went right to their phones, looked up the rules, discussed it, figured it out, whatever. A lot of people didn't know there was, you know, a thing about rollaways and hitting your bag that a lot of people didn't know, that I didn't know, that the people who did it didn't know. It was a bunch of pros who did it. Like, it was a learning experience for everyone. Those guys who had it happen to them didn't get mad at the TD or the people on their card and brought it up. They were mature about it. They went, okay, they figured out, they talked it out. They did email, well, someone helped email the PDGA committee to get it resolved finally so that they could get a real answer. But it's not fun things to talk about rules like that. But when it's with a TD, I think that there's a little bit of a higher accountability, because it's not just you're volunteering for this, like, you're representing your community, and your community is kind of put on a display for your event, and the way that you conduct, you know, how you run everything is reflected on like the work that the community has put in. People see that courses that way now. So when you come out and you're, I don't know, like, willy-nilly about the rules, you don't look it up. You just tell people the wrong things. It comes out later, and then you say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. Like, it's hard to take you seriously as the TD. And it's frustrating to not have people kind of support the idea that, like, you know, everyone makes mistakes, sure, but like, just then fix it. Like, if someone brings it up, then you just go, oh, I made a mistake. Like, there's a little bit of, it's hard for people to do that.
But it shouldn't be, you know what I mean? Like, there's a word that occurs in the acronym for PDGA and FPO, and it's professional, and it is a professional relationship. And, you know, you don't have to, like, I don't think anybody's asking anyone, especially volunteers, you know, to be saints. But if somebody comes to you with a legitimate concern, just, you know, be reasonable in the way that you engage with it, be thoughtful in the way that you try to address it, and make a genuine effort. I don't think any of those are disqualifying criteria for being a TD. I don't think it takes any intense amount of time or effort or thought or energy or whatever your your descriptor is to just, if somebody comes to you and says, hey, this is a thing that you might not know is a problem, but it actually is, to go, thanks, I didn't know that. Let me check and make sure you're right, and we'll make sure that we address it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is mutually exclusive of saying, yes, a lot of these people are doing the work as volunteers, and we're very grateful for that work. I think those two realities can coexist and have to.
Yeah.
Call me crazy.
Well, it is what it is, and I think it's like less severe issues than, like, there's not TDs doing anything wrong or anything like that. It's just it's live and learn. It's people need to grow. People need to like experience criticism and stuff like that and grow from it. And yeah, it should be that kind of mentality, like you said, like it where you grow from that. Like, so people are gonna do what they want to do, but I think that that's valuable feedback. Like, I know there was a tournament this year that didn't have players packs because they saw a bunch of people posting about how they're sick of players packs. I don't know that they particularly asked. I don't know if that was, but they made an event and it was wildly popular. Everyone was like, this is great. We're playing for just pure merge-out, pure payouts. Like, they loved it. And when TDs ignore comments like that because it's not what they want to do, that's totally fine. But you have to be okay with people saying, I don't like your event, or I'm not going to this event. So like, I might not go to one or two events that I did go to this year because I just didn't enjoy it. And I didn't enjoy how lacking the seriousness of the TD was. And but like how serious they were about enforcing rules on us. I shouldn't be scared shitless to be late for my tea time, literally getting screamed at because I'm 100 meters away, or 100 feet away, not meters, 100 feet away. And I'm getting yelled at about getting stroked. Yet the TDs are drinking, watching the pros, and not even there to hand in cards. Like, why should that happen? Or why did a TD enforce a 5-minute rule for the first round, but after lunch for the second round, it was, oh, well, whenever they show up, we'll just wait for them. And it's like, I don't want that person to get a 5-minute rule, but like, why is it, as it's convenient for the TD? So those kind of things, like, it really echoes to me about, like, I don't really want to come back to something where I feel like we're not taken seriously. So that, and I think that people don't feel comfortable feeling that way. I think people feel like there are a lot of pros, and there's a few FPOs I know that they would never be like, oh, I didn't like this tournament because this. They would never even say that. It would just be rude to them. And they don't think that that's appropriate because they've never run a tournament. They've never done any of that stuff. And so they don't feel like they have a right to, but they freaking do. You paid for that. You paid for that experience. And realistically, like, TDs are allowed to take money out to pay themselves now. There's pass-through fees that come out. If you get added cash, like, extra above and beyond what your added cash is, like, TDs sometimes will take that out to pay themselves for travel expenses and things like that. And like, it's not like, if you put in the work to run a really well-run event, it's not like you should be going broke. You could even make a little bit of money on it. But when, your accounts don't add up, or your pass-through fees are not lining up to pro, and then people say that, it's like, you kind of get like that ostracized, that like, you're mean and you don't appreciate things. And so, I will be making, like, and I hope everyone does start making their opinions more, like, not you don't have to share them all the time, but like, when you think something will be helpful, to share it, because we shouldn't be so scared of that, because that's the way our entire community is going to grow. And I think in Ontario right now, with all the overlapping tournaments, we have a bit more luxury now of being able to pick and choose what you're going to go to, and being able to choose, like, am I going to go to this event or not? Or there's likely another event that weekend. So we are able to kind of pick and choose what we want. And I think that by doing that, we're letting the communities know what is more needed in certain areas. Like, certain areas are going to want more flex starts, and certain areas are going to want more one-day tournaments, and certain areas are going to want more, like, pro and AM1 only kind of events, like those high class events. And certain places are going to want those like no players pack, no fuss kind of events. So it's good for people to be testing it out and trying out different things and having their community like get whoever wants to run something to and share your resources and share your stuff. And that's the way you're going to learn what works best for your community. So if you have a tournament out there that's not filling up, like you got to think about why and what is it that people want more of. So
yeah. And, it's all about accountability, right? Like in my day job, I manage like a $500,000 budget for an elected official of taxpayer money. And it's a very different context. But if I spend $4 on paper towels at the dollar store in our plaza because our office needs some, like that expense claim is audited. All the information is disclosed. Like different context, different level of attention and effort and all that. And I'm not equating the two things at all, but I think it's reasonable if you are running an event where people are paying to take part that you should engage with the people that are coming to that event, and that you should be able to take, a little bit of reasonable criticism and feedback about what that event looks like. And I don't think, again, that's not, something that can't coexist with respecting the role that TDs play and the I don't know, the respect, I guess, is the best word that I would want to pay them for spending their energy on creating a thing that I love. You can go, wow, it's so awesome this person is making this event for me, and also go, hey, did you think about this? And not have that be like this crazy contentious interaction. Anyway, not to take a crazy hard right turn, but we have taken up enough of your time, I believe, as much as I've really, really enjoyed it. And if you're okay, something we like to do with everybody sort of at the end of having them on is moving to a couple of sort of more lighthearted, rapid fire questions. So if you're good, 4 things, just sort of, we'll throw it out there. Give us the first thing that comes to your mind, and let the answers become what may. So if that's cool with you, the first one that we have is, if you're stranded on a desert island and you can only bring 3 items with you, what would those items be?
Like discs or just any items?
You can take this in whatever direction you want. We've talked to people about making discs of coconuts. I think we've had answers that have included bringing discs. But it's just sort of this, the proverbial desert island. You're there. You don't know when you're getting picked up. You don't know what is going to happen. What do you want with you when you're there?
Okay, definitely. This is so hard. Definitely, I would bring my NB because you gotta want something to do, and also it's a plate and a bowl, so it's like multi-use, right? And then, and this sounds so corny, but I would definitely bring a book, probably a book of short stories or
Need some entertainment. Important.
Yeah, some fairy tale or some horror stories or something. And then, I don't know what I'd bring for my third item. That's so hard. Nowadays, I'd probably bring yarn so I could crochet. I am highly obsessed with this now. So that's taking up all my time. So I'd be awesome. No food, it wouldn't last very long, but I'd have a lot of it.
You'd have so much fun while you were there. I don't know if you've met my wife. I'm gonna have to introduce you to, because she's taken a bit of a break the last few weeks, but she has been crocheting the last few months as a new hobby. So
I have a Google Drive I should send you that you can share with her. Because every time I find a pattern, I'm like, I'm keeping this forever. I just started making maple leafs. They're
that's so cute.
Sweet.
Well, if you send that drive, you best believe I'll be showing her.
Are you going to hand out the little maple leaves in Australia?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was going to try and... So we usually give something out to everyone we play against. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking, depending on how many rounds we have, that might be 100. I don't know. But I have all the way till November. I just made 5 yesterday, so I think I could do it. Last time we went, we brought little maple candy suckers to give out to everyone, which was cute. So I might try to make enough for the whole team or like hand them out to like just the people I play. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've been handing them out to people I play. If I remember, I have a whole bunch of like Mario shells and things and like little like lime.
Nice.
Owl.
You're awesome.
So obsessed.
Question number 2. When you get back from the deserted island, you're going out to party. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh man, we were talking about this the other day. It's so hard. I'm very much not a singer.
Yeah, me neither.
I have lots of adult pops to get me to sing a song. But like me and my friend sometimes will go up and do Bohemian Rhapsody just because it's so much fun. It's so kooky. Sure. And like you get to do the like silly voices so no one can really tell that you're a bad singer. They just think you're trying to be funny. And like, yeah, I think that would be a good one.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. Might have to adopt that. Question the third. What is your favorite place to stop for food on a road trip?
That's a good question. I am definitely like a coffee whore. So Tim Hortons is like, I mean, a lot of people don't love Tim Hortons coffee and they're wrong. So, but
correct.
Starbucks, like if I'm feeling rich, and then Tim Hortons if I am, most of the time. And, just like if Tim Hortons is watching, just saying like, how dare you get rid of the grilled cheese? How dare you? Everyone got the grilled cheese. Like,
what got rid of the grilled cheese?
Yeah, they got these stupid pizzas instead. I'm so
so
I'm never. Oh, actually, that's a lie. I was going to say I'm never going back to Tim Hortons. I certainly will. I'm sad. That was one of my like go-to like late night. I'm driving home. What's open? Tim Hortons. What can I get? Grilled cheese. Like that was one of my go-tos.
Right. So
one of my absolute go-tos at Starbucks is their grilled cheese sandwich.
Yes.
The Canadian one. The American one, not as good.
Yeah.
But the Canadian one, absolutely solid. And they've just started the ham and cheese croissants, which are fantastic. They brought those in from
I had it for the first time this morning. Those are so good.
Done. So I know the Tim Hortons bacon everything pizza is trash, and it is delicious trash. Strong recommend.
It's like whatever they put on it, the garlic butter or whatever they put on it. So good, and it's like all the different bacons.
It's so good. It should not be edible. It's questionably edible, frankly, but it is. I've had like multiple this week alone. I should not.
That's actually what I switched to.
Fantastic choice.
Well, now I know. I still haven't tried any of the pizzas, but I'm getting a pretty resounding recommendation from you two.
Only the bacon everything one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's on the list.
And last question before we let you go. You get an opportunity to build your dream card of 3 extra players to play with and share with them the majesty that is a Tim Hortons bacon everything pizza. Who are you picking to play with? Current players, past players, people you have played with, people you wish you could have played with. What is your dream 4-person card?
All right. I got made fun of last time I answered this because I said all my friends, and people were like, that's dumb, Colleen, because you can play with them anytime. Yeah.
It's amazing to play with your friends.
Yeah, and that's why I do, is because it's awesome.
Yeah. Right? But it's like when your friends all live in different places and they're not all friends. So you're getting like all of just your favorite people together.
Mm-hmm.
That's different. So.
This is a selfish question. Being selfish is the answer. So
yes. And
who would they be?
I thought deeply about this. So I would choose Elaine King because she is still... She is currently, and will not for long, because I have faith in Sophia, holds the record for the highest rated female in Canada. When she was Canadian, when she was on the PDGA as Canadian, she was, I believe it was like 957 or something like that. somewhere up there, and or might have even
Sophia's getting close.
Yeah, so Sophia's getting close. So because Elaine King is the highest rated Canadian ever, sometimes at nationals people will honor her. Like when I went to PEI, they had a King's Cup for the best Canadian finisher. So
nice. I love that.
By Americans. So Elaine King, and then obviously the current reigning queen of disc golf, Kristen Tatar. I'm a huge fangirl, and I think it's a lot to do with I'll say my fourth is Paige Pierce, because Paige was my favorite player. I just loved how serious she was, but like so under sold. Like she's so short and tiny, but like she throws so far. And you know, like she had a lot of really amazing runs in her career, particularly when I first started playing FPO. So she's always been like kind of a hero of mine, and I had the honor of playing with her a bunch. And so I think it would be, I visually in my mind, I see her as like the best American, and Tatar in that sense as like the current, you know, best out there, arguably. She and representing like Europe and Estonia, right? And I think that the power she has, like the pure muscle and athleticism of her, how focused and her mental capacity is so inspiring. So I think that like being able to pick the brain of those three and talk about disc golf would just be one of the most inspiring but also useful rounds I'd ever play in my life. So that would be huge. And I've been lucky enough, I haven't played with Kristen yet, but I have been able to play with Elaine King and with Paige. So one day I will play with Kristen, and actually maybe at CCR, because she's coming and there's not a whole lot of touring FPOs. So
she's coming to CCR?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, her and Silver are signed up, and I was like, I signed up and there was like, I don't know, a bunch of women in there, and it wasn't really that big of me. And I was like, this is cool. And then she signed up, and I was like, oh my God, I could play on a card with her. Beacon International card. So that would be really cool. All my dreams will come true. But yeah, that would be like the dream, to pick their brains. Just the amount of knowledge and the mental fortitude of those women is just so inspiring. So
if you do get to play with Kristen, pro tip here, make sure that Silver is caddying for her, because the missed Mando theory, which I have stolen from my wife Gabby, is that she plays worse when Silver is on the bag for her. We have absolutely no data or evidence to support this, but it feels correct if you watch coverage.
No, see, this is the problem, Sean, is that we do have data, because you explained to me this theory, and I went, that is insane, crackpot, tinfoil hat material. There's no chance at all. And then since you explained this theory to me, I don't know, it's been a few months. Every tournament that I have watched where she has had Silver on the bag, she has performed poorer than when she has had somebody else. So I still think it's kind of kooky, but
I guarantee it is accurate.
Yeah, the qualitative data, which does still count, all data is not quantitative. The qualitative data that I have says that you're right. So let's hope that when Colleen is playing on Kristen's card, Silver is caddying.
Absolutely.
Wild.
We're signed up too, so we'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
Because I think that's like maybe a bit of a theme with women in general. Like I have a big, I don't know, problem with like newer women who get their partner to tell them what to throw, not to tell them which choice to make, but to literally tell them, like, they're like, what do I throw?
Put this in your hand.
Yeah. And it's like, I want you as men out there to challenge the women you play with, just when it feels right, to start going, which two are you thinking about? Because then at least you can help them make the decision, but get them there. Because I've seen women who are so good, so skilled, and then their partner shows up, male or female, partner shows up, and then they're like, what do I do? What do I do? You're like, you were so good before they came. Just be confident, girl. Like, just do it. So I think not that that's anything wrong with guys. They're just trying to help. But women, you can help them out. Like, being like, like, which ones are you like struggling between, like, and kind of word it that way. So, but yeah,
I don't tell them.
No, on Miss Mando, we clearly believe that all men are trash. So we're with you. No, I think
only based on all available evidence.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that is the perfect note to end on. Uplifting. Men that play disc golf and partners that play disc golf, empower your female life partners to make decisions and thoughtful ones about the discs they throw and how they engage with the sport, and don't just tell them what to do. And on that positive and uplifting note, Colleen, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday as we record this on the course at Bronte to play some tags. Until then, thank you so much for joining us. It has been our genuine pleasure to have you on the pod.
Thank you so much. And I'm just going to give a little quick shout out to She Dyes Her Discs. If you're looking for any, you can do Colleen 10 for a discount. And T3.
I was so excited to end on a positive note there, because I know we've taken up so much of your time that I forgot our usual question, which is to give you the floor if there's anybody you want to shout out. So you did shout out She Dyes Her and T3, but I apologize. If there's anybody else you want to shout out, the floor is yours.
Just you guys, and thank you so much for doing this, because if you're listening out there, like, subscribe, do everything you can, because you guys are like the news network for Ontario, right? Like, and the world, I mean, like, the world of disc golf, but like, it's so cool to hear a podcast where we hear about pros in the States, and then we also get to hear about Canadians, and it's really amazing. So you guys are doing just the best work. Thank you so much.
Well, we are doing our genuine best, and if our podcast is anything, it's elevated by the guests that we have, and we are proud to count you among them. So it has been our pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much again, Colleen, and we will be right back on Miss Mando.
And welcome back to Miss Mando. Thank you so much to Colleen for joining us for an interview. Super sad I had to miss out on that one, but you guys once again rocked another interview, and Colleen's just awesome, isn't she?
Yeah,
she really is.
It was way better not having you on, so it worked out really well.
Yeah, that's usually how things go. But we're going to pivot off of that comment real quick, as fast as I can, and we're going to move on to some Pro Tour recaps right now. And Shawnee G, I'm going to throw it over to you, my friend.
So the first Pro Tour event that happened while we were away was the Krokhol Open in Norway. This event saw the much anticipated post-injury return of Kristin Tattar to the field. She was off for 10 weeks. And during that time, Silva Saarinen put the time to very good use, taking down 5 events in a row. Every event in Europe in June had Silva's name all over it. And this was a streak that came to a very abrupt halt in Norway. Silva started off hot. She was leading after round 1, but Kristin was like, "Yeah, no, I don't think so." And then shot the tournament's hottest round of anyone in the event and caught up to her. In round 3, Kristin kept her foot on the gas and eventually went on to win by 6 strokes over Silva. Lest anyone think that a mere broken rib could keep her down for long. Yeah, that just ain't happening. Over in FPO, I mean, it was the Ricky show from start to finish. He was up by 4 after round 1, then 7 after round 2, and then finished up over 5 up over Jakob Semerad in the end. Ricky had a bogey-free tournament and he averaged 1081 for the event. This has been such a fantastic year for Ricky, now with 2 wins and another 9 top 5s. if it wasn't for old what's his name, that lanky kid from Iowa, he would be
Jason Ford?
I think that's it.
Okay.
But Ricky would totally be a lock for Player of the Year. But I think the Iowa kid has something to say about that, and we'll get to that when we talk about the European Open.
Anthony Barella would like a word as well.
Yeah. Who? Where was he? Let's go to Robbie. Robbie, any thoughts about Krokhol?
Yeah, a couple. There's one thing I wanted to kind of bring up for a discussion with you guys. But one thing I wanted to add, Sean, you mentioned that Ricky averaged 1081 for the event. That is the fourth highest event rating in MPO history. Absolutely insane tournament from Ricky. And also wanted to just kind of give a shout out to Jakub, who finished in second place. He, of course, lost to Ricky by 5 strokes, but he beat third place by 5 strokes. If it wasn't for Ricky, everyone would have been talking about a dominating Jakub Semerad win. But they were both just a class above the rest of the field, with Ricky being just a little bit of a class above him. But when you're laying down the fourth best event average in history, it's a little hard to do anything about that. But shout out to Jakub. That's a great performance. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up with you guys was that I actually didn't know this going into the event, although I think I might have mentioned it just briefly on our last show that I had seen it leading up to the event, was that this is the #1 rated course in the world. And I'm curious, what did you guys think about the course? Do you think it lives up to that expectation? Galen, let's go to you first.
Yeah, I would say it does. I think it's such a difficult question to answer. I mean, I think there are different metrics you can choose. There are different ways you can talk about courses, think about courses, discuss courses. But at the end of the day, it's really tough to have enough people that have a broad enough base of courses they've played to get a representative sample. I'm not necessarily like a big data guy, but just if you just think about like how a lot of disc golfers play, it's courses that are approximate to them, right? You know, I played in my life a couple dozen courses, but most of them are within, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours of where I live. You know, if you think about something like you know, just personal affinity or affection. I mean, if you have a really good course that has a really great culture, really great community, and a lot of people that love it and are willing to go on, you know, UDisc or whatever app and provide a rating that goes into the aggregation that is really strong based on their experience, it's tough to discount that. But it's also tough to go, you know, if we're talking about it from an Ontario perspective, which is a little bit easier for me, you know, I don't know who I am to tell somebody that thinks that Newcastle is the best course in Ontario, and that has helped to contribute to, you know, like a 4.76 rating on UDisc. I'm just pulling numbers out of my head at this point. That, you know, as somebody that would say maybe my favorite course is Wolf Tracks, and I think it deserves the highest possible rating. That you know, the 4.68 that shows up, you know, is not as impactful for me as that 4.74 is for them. This is sort of a bit of a this has sort of devolved into like a little bit of a tangent here, but just for me, I think it's tough to have a really objective system by which to evaluate courses all around the world against each other, because it's rare to have enough people that will play every single one of those courses. But tell me it's got the highest rating in the world and prime my experience that way. And watching the Krokhol Open, I went, yeah, this doesn't seem out of place. This seems like a fantastic course. I would love to play it. So yeah, it seems reasonable to me. I mean, I think there are cases that you could easily make for dozens, if not hundreds of other courses the world over. But you tell me that's #1 and then show me the golf that we watched a few weeks ago there at Krokhol, and yeah, I buy it.
Shawnee G, what about you?
It's a great course. Absolutely great course. I would be absolutely murdered by this course. But it seemed for this level of play, was it too easy? Like for Ricky, who is incredible, of course, one of the GOATs, not the GOAT, but one of the GOATs, for him to be able to play it bogey free, could it have been a little more challenging? you look at this, and I see how it compared to the Monster, which we'll talk about for the European Open at Tampere. That course, a rollaway risk on like every single basket, like significant ones. It seems so much harder. So I think Krokhol it could be on the whole of disc golf of who plays. It could be the best course, but maybe not the best course on the Pro Tour, if that makes sense.
I definitely get what you're saying. I think that a course borderlines on too easy when you're starting to average more than 10 under per round, which Ricky did in this event. He averaged 11 under per round. He finished 33 under in 3 rounds. But he was the only one to do that. Jakub Semerad finished at minus 28. And then, like we said, then below that, in a very deep field, by the way, there was Vinyl Makala, Nicholas Antala, Paul Macbeth, Adam Hammes, Paul Ulibarri, Anthony Barella, Gannon Burr, Eagle McMahon, Matty O, Randon Lana, Gavin Babcock. The list goes on and on and on. This was a very, very strong strength of field, especially for being over in Europe. We haven't seen the strongest fields leading up to this, but now this being the event before the European Open, of course, we had basically all the top dogs from the US coming over. So very deep field, and most of the rest of that field wasn't even able to get to minus 20 through three rounds. So I think that Ricky just had a very, very good performance to make it look like that. Definitely understand where you're coming from. But I also think, just based on looking at the overall leaderboard, that it's got to be pretty comparable to a lot of the other scores that we see for 3-round tournaments on the Pro Tour. And we'll get into it in just a little bit with the European Open, of course. But the Monster at Tampere is crazy. Like, that's got to be one of the hardest courses in the world. Maybe it is so crazy. And I think that this course fits in perfectly with what we see on the Pro Tour. Scoring wise, I think I agree. But in terms of it being the number 1 rated course in the world, it is so gorgeous. There is something, and of course, it's insane. And I would probably think a lot of the same things if I actually had the opportunity to go over there, which hopefully I do at some point. I would love to go over and play some of these European courses. But from the visual standpoint, on watching it on video, there is something about the European grass, or whatever they do out there for the grass, that just looks so damn good. Like, it is, and it's not, because when I think of like a well-maintained disc golf course that I get to play, immediately would be thinking it's on a golf course. Played a bunch of disc golf courses that are great, and because they're on a golf course, the grass is immaculately maintained. I always love going out to Foxwood and playing there. This isn't a golf course. This is just a disc golf course that got that same professional level of maintenance and care. And you can really see it across all of European disc golf, really. I mean, even at the Swedish Open, that was Gardens Disc Golf Center, absolutely gorgeous. And it's a bit of trend that I've been continuing to say in the European swing, but 100% agree with it here. When you get into the top sort of courses like that, there can definitely be ones that just personal preference. I am not as familiar with this course to really say that it would maybe be my personal number 1. Because of course, then there's, the courses, both of the courses at Smuggler's Notch, Maple Hill, so many other great courses, that the Pro Tour visits. So don't know how exactly I feel about that, but it's definitely up there. And, visually it was stunning. So loved watching the coverage, from this one. But if you guys don't have anything else to add for that, I think we might be able to move on to you, Galen, for our picks recap.
Yeah, absolutely. The only very short thing I would add is I think something else that I was sort of alluding to, but didn't, I guess, put quite into words, is I think everybody's criteria for best course is different. Like, for me, the best course is very different from the most challenging course. So yeah, I think probably it did play easier than a number of courses. I don't know if it played so much easier that would be a determining factor for me. I definitely feel was more gorgeous than a lot of the courses. I don't know if it was so much more gorgeous as a determining factor, but definitely really cool to have a major stop there. So I think that's awesome. Over on the pick side, we can start with Mr. Shawnee G, who had Nicholas Antala and Kristen Tatar. Pick of the litter. Antala finished in 4th, and Kristen, as we just talked about, finished in 1st. So averaging 2.5. Those are pretty good numbers right there. Robbie, you took Paul Macbeth, which is such an interesting choice for me at this point, because Paul has been so up and down, I feel like, this year, and even like in the last couple of years, where he's had he's been battling for world championships and then been pretty pedestrian at times. But I thought it paid off pretty well. Paul Macbeth in 6th, and you had Silva Saarinen, which, as we were talking about, 5 tournaments in a row prior to the return of Kristen, seemed like the odds-on favorite. Silva finishing in 2nd. So 6th and 2nd, averaging 4 overall. I like that a lot. I took Gannon Burr and Anakin Skywalker Sten. Gannon finished in 7th and Anakin in 4th, so averaging 5.5. So, I mean, if you told me heading into that tournament and we were all going to have picks that averaged, in the top 10 overall, I'd be pretty happy with that. But Sean gets the crown for the Krokhol Open with an average of 2.5. Love to see it.
Great that none of our picks are outside of the top 10. That's just, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Solid picks overall.
Good performance. I have a new theory about Paul Macbeth that after his Europe trip last year, where he played really well and he won PCS and he won a bunch of European Pro Tour events and whatnot, I think he's just permanently jet lagged in the US, and he can only play well when he's back in Europe now. He's permanently European on his internal clock, and that's why he's not playing well in the States, but playing well in Europe. So unfortunately, I probably could have ran back that pick for the European Open and even been a little good there. But we'll get into that, a little teaser for what's to come. But yeah, we'll see if we got some US tournaments coming up again, and we'll see where Paul finishes with the forever jet lag.
Honestly, maybe it's like Freaky Friday. Like last year, the jet lag was turned on for the US, and now he's flipping it back, and he's going to just shredding again back in the States.
Love our theory time.
Well, he certainly was not in jet lag mode for the European Open.
Ooh, Sean, speaking of the transitions, my goodness.
Let's go. Let's go to Finland. So this past weekend saw the 2nd MPO major and the 3rd FPO major of the year, with the European Open played at Tampere's The Monster and the Beast in Nokia. The 4-round event saw some absolutely wild weather in the earlier rounds, and even wilder golf, especially in FPO. So starting there, Kristen, she started off hot with the first round with a very solid -9, and she cooled off a little bit in round 2, allowing Evelina Salonen to climb to only 1 stroke off the lead. And in round 2, Kristen seemed to forget what sport she was playing entirely. She carded 7 OB strokes and shot a +8, which was 4th highest in the field. It was a 908 rated round that is low enough that it won't even count against her rating, I don't think. By the end of the day, she had dropped to 3rd place, 7 strokes behind Evelina, who had a fantastic round. And, all Evelina had to do was shoot a very conservative final round, which she absolutely did not do. Evelina ended up shooting a +9 on the day, including her own 7 OB strokes. She didn't card a single birdie in the final 25 holes of golf. And what do you know? Her final round matched Kristen's 908 rated score on round 3. But unfortunately, it's very likely going to actually count towards her rating. It was just painful to watch her lead slowly and sometimes not so slowly fall away as Kristen caught up to her by hole 10. Over holes 11 through 18, Kristen, she only shot even par, but Evelina went +7, and Kristen walked away with yet another major title. Over an MPO, it was also a battle, though it looked very different. There were no dramatic swings in scores and position as people forgot and then relearned how to play the sport. But it was a very constant grind between the old guard trying to catch the best of the new generation. Randon Latta was first after round 1, but that didn't hold in round 2 because Gannon came out with guns a-blazing and took the lead, tied with Paul Macbeth, setting the stage for an amazing battle for the rest of the event. In round 3, Burr went bogey-free -12, a 1082 to take solo first with Paul 3 strokes behind, and now Ricky Wysocki's in the mix too, 1 stroke behind Paul. The final round was amazing to watch, and why you get, the upgraded live subscription to Disc Golf Network. It was Burr, it was Ricky, it was Paul. It was amazing. The two old guard, the two best old guard, trying to take down the young gun. And Burr was not going to go down without a fight. He was -7 through 9. And then on hole 10, some jerk in the crowd intentionally coughed while he was putting, and Burr took a bogey and had some harsh words for the audience. I read that apparently the guy who did it was caught and thrown out of the event, which, yeah, fair. It was Gannon's first bogey since hole 11 on round 2. That's 34 holes prior. Ricky, meanwhile, is having the round of his life on his way to a -13 course record. By hole 17, he actually caught Gannon, and it was tied going into the final hole. Like, it was electric to watch live. On hole 18, however, Ricky's drive got out of position and his upshot went OB, and Gannon had he had parked it as much as you can park it. He had a 1-inch drop-in putt for the win, and that was all she wrote. And Gannon was crowned the European Open champion. It was amazing disc golf to watch, and absolutely the reason why I don't watch post coverage if I can avoid it. Robbie, let's go to you. What are your thoughts on the European Open?
Totally agree with you, Shawnee G. Live disc golf is where it's at. The drama of everything that's unfolding live is totally unbeatable compared to post produced. And this was an incredible event. I love the European Open. It is maybe my favorite event of the year. The European crowds are always massive, and this year was no different, with just rows and rows of people lining the fairways.
I think I heard like 4,500 or 5,000 people there. Like, yep. Amazing.
That's definitely on par with the European crowds, and just so awesome to see, putting the U.S. crowds to shame, especially this year, where crowds have been down a little bit. But got to give a big shout out to friend of the pod, Sophia Donica, who made the cut. I believe she finished in 15th place, I believe. I will kind of mumble and talk slowly as I pull it up in the background. 15th. Yes, I was right. Look at the big brain on Robbie. And in her first, I believe her first career PDGA major, if I'm not mistaken. So awesome performance by Sophia. Also got to give a shout out to another friend of the podcast, Thomas Gilbert, who laid down a amazing final round, shooting -10. What was it rated? -10, 1060 rated. Final round, going bogey free and jumping up 23 places into the top 10, finishing tied for 9th, the highest finish for him at a major in his career. Amazing job, Thomas. And another really interesting stat here. Ricky has now shot 3 course records in as many weeks, with a -10 at Swedish Open, -13 at Krokhol, and -13 on the Beast. That is a crazy stretch of disc golf, if I've ever seen one. And also, if the ratings update was today, Kristen's rating would go up to 1,003. She's got 2 events between now and the next update, the European Disc Golf Festival on her home turf, and Ledgestone, although I think she might not be actually registered for Ledgestone last I looked. So potentially just that one event on her home turf, which, if she has another good performance, can raise her rating to new standards in the FBO field after becoming the first 1,000 rated FBO player in history. Galen, any thoughts from you quickly before I got one thing that I want to bring up with you guys for discussion?
Yeah, not a ton to add. I will say I thought it was interesting that Sean didn't touch a lot on Silva's play in his recap of the FPO, because I mean, Evelina very clearly gave the tournament away, but watching Silva and Kristen sort of trade blows was interesting to me. We were talking about the live disc golf versus post disc golf. I didn't get to watch this live. I was sort of checking my phone. I don't remember if I was playing that day or doing something else, but like just watching in live time, even if I wasn't watching the throws, how that, those punches and counter punches were going was very cool. And, I love the idea, certainly, of like live disc golf production. I think a little bit more versus the post produce, because then you wind up with weird moments in the post production, like last year when Big Germ is pretending like he hasn't seen, or 2 years ago now, seen this massive throw in by. Oh my God, Ponytail. You know who I'm talking about.
James Conrad.
James Conrad. When meanwhile there is footage of him running up and losing his mind, and they're all sort of talking about it as if they don't know what's going to happen. It just creates these weird moments sometimes where I'm like, it's in. I don't love it. Oh my God, it's in. Yeah. But I also, I absolutely adore what the Two Hot Geese are doing, what Big Sexy Bear are doing over on Jomez, and there's a lot of great post-produced disc golf too. I just felt like mentioning that sort of like weird dissonance sometimes between live sports versus having to pretend like you're experiencing things live when you're commentating on it after the fact, despite the fact that you might have been in there, you might have been running, you might have been losing your mind about James Conrad's shot, and then you got to be like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen here.
You're absolutely right. Sorry to interrupt. You're absolutely right about Silva. She only lost to Kristen by 1 stroke.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It definitely wasn't just the Kristen and Evelina show, though that was, the source of most drama.
Of course.
But yeah, when Kristen wasn't playing and Silva went on her 5-win tear, there were some people who were like, yeah, but Kristen's not there. Well, you know what? Kristen was here, and she only lost by 1 stroke.
Yeah.
So I think Silva has absolutely established herself as one who can hang with the big dog and absolutely come up clutch when needed.
And she took an unfortunate double bogey on hole 12 to give Kristen the lead, and then it was tied for the rest of the way. They traded blows. They even both got a birdie on hole 16 and traded pars everywhere else down the stretch. So Silva was right there to push Kristen, and just continues to. I mean, I guess just a separate question then for you guys. It's a little hard to compare when she's been doing all this dominance in Europe. But where would Silva be ranked in your current FPO power rankings?
Well, that's a good question.
She's got to be up there. Yeah,
if you include Owen Scoggins and Missy and, all of the players that have been over in the US full time playing really well over here. Silva has been over in the US as well.
Yep.
And so yeah, where would you guys say? Personally, I think she would probably be, kind of recency bias, but that's what power rankings are. If not second, she's got to be like at least third on that list. Definitely a top 5 player in the world right now in FPO for me.
That's exactly what I was going to say is top 5. For me, Kristen continues to show that she's in a league of her own. Even though she has a majorly off round, like round 3 at the European Open, she's still taking down victories. And so for me, she's in her own stratosphere. And then for me, I think you can reasonably interchange a number of players, but I've got Owen there. I've got Big Money Missy there. I've got Silva there. And I think I've probably got Evelina there too, despite some rocky roads there this year.
That's exactly my order.
Yeah.
I can't argue with any of that. They're the top dogs for sure. Unfortunately, we're not going to see Silva stateside very much. She's only registered for Worlds at the end of August, and the playoffs at Smugs. I don't know. We'll see if she picks up anything else in between those. That's kind of Kristen's schedule as well, with the exception of the CCR Open in Michigan. She's playing in an A tier, which is not too far from us. It's gonna be.
Oh, is he gonna do a road trip?
It's kind of wild that she's jumping on the CCR, which is the Labor Day weekend, and just before D-Glow. We're gonna have to reach out, see if we can get her on the pod so we can see if she's gonna play the Innova Rip on her trip between. Maybe we can get her a Porsche for the commute.
I don't know how much I can contribute to that.
No. How did we do on our picks there, Galen?
I thought we actually did pretty well here too. There might have been a lone, I was going to say bright spot, a lone dark spot, but we did pretty good. So I had first dibs at the picks. I took Kristen and Nicholas. Kristen, of course, eked out that win we were just talking about, and Nicholas finished in 6th, so averaging 3.5. Robbie had Silva again. If you can't pick Kristen, or maybe even if you can, over in Europe, a fantastic choice in FPO. And Anthony Barella had that lone dark spot, the off weekend, finishing down in 36th. So 2 and 36, averaging 19 for your picks there. And Shawnee G had Evelina and Ricky, finishing 4th for Evelina and 2nd for Ricky. And just edging me out there with an average pick of 3 to my 3.5. So Sean, back to back
2 for 2
with the picks here. We love
solid picks, and other than AB doing reasonably bad, but not horribly bad.
But still cashed.
Again, nobody outside of the top 6, solid picks all around.
Yep. Yeah, and Sean, you might be celebrating the fact that you had the best pick performance at the European Open, but I am celebrating the fact that your silly theory about Silver Lot being on the bag, ensuring that Kristen Tatar cannot win tournaments, being proven wrong once and for all. I know Evelina flushed a little bit of that tournament down the toilet, but we were just talking about, Silva was right there and playing well, and there were another 40 of the top female pros there. And Silver was on the bag for the final round when Kristen threw down a 1,012, 1,015 or so rated round, and stormed back from a 7-stroke deficit. So I think we can put that to bed once and for all until the next tournament when it happens and she performs poorly and Sean reminds all of us why he is the Sean Galbraith.
I will not accept any data or evidence to back up or to contradict this theory. It is firmly based on vibes, and I'm going to stick with that.
Vibes are off the charts. And we're not even going to mention that person we talked to this weekend who was pretending that your theory was their theory.
Yeah, it ain't.
This is an original thought. This is
exactly,
Shawnee
it's actually my... No, it's not even mine. It's my wife's.
You're right. It's sorry, Gabby.
100% Gabby's theory.
Yeah, and Gabby deserves
credit too.
Yep.
Yeah. Hideo.
100%.
Yeah.
Hundo P. And speaking of, sorry there, Robbie, go ahead.
I was going to say one thing I wanted to bring up with you guys post-European Open is just a little current player of the year power rankings in your guys' mind. Now, the two winners of this event may have made this conversation a lot easier and kind of a no-brainer, but a few stats for you guys that I'll throw out there. We've got Kristen Tatar, who now has 5 wins on the year, including a major. I actually, myself personally, didn't have Kristen as number 1 in FPO Player of the Year power rankings going into this tournament without the major. Missy with 3 wins, 1 being a major. I think I personally ranked a little higher, but Kristen now going back-to-back Krokhol, European Open, getting that major, 4 Elite Series, 1 major win in a season. Kind of hard to argue, but we do have Missy Gannon. She's got 3 wins, 1 of those being a major. Evelina Salonen, 3 wins, 1 of those being a major. And those are pretty much, then you got, Silva Saarinen has 2 wins, Holland Hanley, Owen Scoggins, Ella Hansen, Emily Weatherman, Annika Sten, Paige Pierce all have 1 win this year. I think the FPO conversation is pretty short. What do you guys say?
Yeah, 100%. Kristen has played 10 tournaments this year. She's won 6. She's finished second twice. She's never finished outside of the top 6.
Yeah, her in Elite Series and major events this year, which is what I'm using for the stats, she has 9 starts, 7 podiums, 5 wins, and an average place of 2.22. Kind of hard to argue. I don't think you probably have anything more to add to that, Shawnee G.
I mean, it's going to come down to either Evelina or Kristen, and if
Missy's in there too, I think same amount of wins and has the major too. If Missy could win, is there another? What am I liking on
right now? I think it's Worlds.
Why did I forget Worlds? If Missy or Evelina could win Worlds and get a second major on the year, that's about the only chance that I think somebody else has of knocking Kristen off the podium.
I think that's absolutely fair. I'm just looking at Evelina's tournament schedule here. She's not playing much more right now, at least, than her schedule is almost identical to Kristen's and Silva's. So, not a lot of opportunities to pick up more Pro Tour events because as they shift back to the States. Mm-hmm. So there's opportunities certainly for Missy to capitalize on that and really start racking up some wins. Yeah. Or anyone else on the tour.
She's historically really good at Ledgestone, which is coming up.
Yep. It'll right now it's obviously Kristen's to lose, I think. Mm-hmm. But it can be lost.
I know it's such boring discussion, but I don't think there is a discussion here. I was just taking a look, at the PDGA World Rankings as we're chatting here. So if you're looking at average points for players in the FPO division, Kristen is averaging 160.9 points. The next closest player is averaging 80.6, less than half. Kristen is doubling up on Scoggins. Evelina is at 79.3. Big Money Missy's at 70.2. That's not the be-all and end-all, but I mean, with 6 wins, including 5 wins, in those 9 starts that you were talking about there, Robbie, I just, she's playing the European Disc Golf Festival, which we'll get to. She's playing World. She's playing CCR, D-Glow, Smugs. Unless there's a scenario where she's, aggravated the injury and can't finish out the season and somebody just has to win on aggregate because her sample size is so small, I just don't see, if she plays all her events, a realistic scenario for her not being top dog at the end of the year. This is a display of dominance we've not seen since Paige Pierce.
It's true. One thing I will say, counterpoint to your PDGA World Rankings, is that's a 2-year formula that they use. So that will include obviously Kristen's dominance last season as well, and that's why she has such a huge gap in that formulation. But now this is obviously skewed because she has missed so many times. In the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings, she's sitting in 5th right now behind Missy Gannon, Owen Scoggins, Holland Hanley, and Evelina. Now, of course, that is majorly skewed because Kristen has missed so much time. And she is only about 160 points behind Missy Gannon. So, can definitely still finish first if she plays enough tournaments and finishes well enough. But yeah, after these last 2 events, like I said, I personally didn't have her as number 1 on my power rankings. Even though she had the most wins, she didn't have the major. And I rank majors in my mind. A major is is like the equivalent to like 2.5 or 3 Elite Series wins in kind of like my formulation, how I look at it. But now with Krokhol and now a major, there's no denying that Kristen is number 1. Now on the MPO side, sorry.
Wait, before we leave.
Yep.
What if Missy wins Worlds?
See, that's where it'll get very
2
weird.
majors, one of which is Worlds.
Yeah. That's where, same with Evelina. Evelina has Champions Cup this year. Missy has USW DGC. Kristen now has European Open. So if Evelina won Worlds, same sort of argument. Now, I think
Silva wins Worlds.
Yeah.
That with things you get, I think it's Kristen's to lose.
Yeah.
But it's losable, I think, at this point.
Absolutely. And if Missy, because like I just said, she plays so well at Ledgestone, if she was able to add Ledgestone, which by the way, Kristen is not registered for, if she was able to win that and win Worlds and have the same amount of wins as Kristen plus 2 majors, then absolutely it's Missy's at that point.
The European trio of Silva, Kristen, and Evelina aren't playing Ledgestone, and they're not playing Idlewild either.
There you go. So
you don't see them again in this time zone till Worlds.
Not entirely sure off the top of my head what Missy's history is like at Idlewild, but I could see her doing well there as well. So it'll be.
I'm not buying it, boys. I'm not buying it. I am like, for me, so much of it is about
trying to create some excitement.
Yeah, which I get, but I just, in the interest of trying to create excitement, I'm going to disagree vehemently. I mean, of course she could lose it. Is it possible? Absolutely. But for me, I weight peak performance so much more highly than aggregate. Like if I think we've talked about this before in different contexts. Like my other sport is hockey, and for me, a player that has led the league in scoring a few times, has won a few Hart trophies as the MVP of the league. That means more to me than somebody that takes down, that scores 80 points for 20 seasons in a row. Like, I love Ron Francis, but he is no Mario Lemieux. And for me, like, the dominance that Kristen has had in events that she has played, like, it would take somebody having similar dominance for the remainder of the season in every event she hasn't played. Like, of course, if she just totally craps the bed and plays badly and finishes outside of the top 10 consistently, or even out of the top 5, that's a different conversation. But if she's anything resembling the player that she has been, takes down another Elite Series winner too, and somebody else, a Missy and Evelina, whoever wins a tournament or two she's not playing, and then a big tournament she is, like Worlds, that still doesn't do it for me. You have to beat the best to be the best, and she has consistently been the best and beat the rest. So, sure, Kristen could wind up at the end of the season not being the player of the year, but it is going to be freaking tough for that to take place. Like, call it 10-1 for me, call it 15-1. Like, the scenario exists for sure, but she is so friggin' good right now and going back to back, even in a tournament where she had some massive errors and a terrible round. Like, for me, that's almost her floor, and that's scary.
That's below her floor. She fell through the floor into the basement on that round, but then climbed way the hell back up.
Yep. Yeah. If I was putting money on it, I would bet on Kristen Tatar to win Player of the Year this year, like 100%. But
there's easy money bet.
there's a road where it could be someone else. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens down the stretch here. Now, on the MPO side, I think
unquestionable.
The most recent MPO winner definitely solidified himself because now he is tied for the most wins on the year. But unlike Anthony Barella, one of those wins is a major. So Gannon Buhr, he's got 3 Elite Series, 1 major win. Anthony Barella has 4 Elite Series wins. And then we've got Ricky Wysocki, who has 2 wins, but an impressive 5.33 average finish on the season, which is second only behind Gannon's 4.5. And then we've got Nicholas Ontala and Calvin Heimberg with 2 wins apiece. And following it up, Paul Macbeth, James Proctor, Jesse Nieminen, Simon Lizotte, all with an Elite Series win, and Andrew Presnell with 1 major win. Like I said, for me, the most recent major win made this one nice and easy. Tied for the most Elite Series and major wins on the year with Anthony Barella, but that 1 major puts him right over the top for me. So yeah, easy peasy Gannon Buhr for me. Shawnee G, what do you think?
I mean, it's right now, again, like you said, the recent win of the European was it's Gannon's to lose for sure. Yeah. We basically have a Kristen situation as well. It's definitely, I would say, closer on the MPO side. There are more challengers to the throne, and they may have a easier time to challenge the throne. But it's definitely Gannon's to lose, and I don't think that's even a question at this point. Yeah, as much as Ricky might prefer it otherwise.
Yeah, I don't think there's a question that Gannon has had the best performances so far. And has the inside track. This is one where I do think, like we're sort of saying, it's a little more open from here on out. And in that interest and in service of not having us just all agree, I won't say that Ricky is at the top of my current power rankings, but if we were to sort of tweak the question slightly and say, who do you think is going to be player of the year at the end of the year? In that scenario, I think I'm going to take Ricky. Gannon has had some insane performances. He certainly is the odds-on favorite right now. I just like a little bit of Ricky's momentum. I mean, finishing first at the Preserve, first at Krokhol, second at President's Cup, second at the European Open. It just feels like he's on a little bit of a roll to me. He
certainly is.
Yeah, he had that not the best performance at the Swedish Open, but I certainly
still got a hot round.
Yeah,
or still set a course record there.
Yeah, I was never at a point where I was writing Ricky off, but his season last year, especially with Lyme disease and everything having a major impact, like I was questioning if he was really going to be in that conversation going forward for the best 2 or 3 players in the world. And maybe that's a bit of a hot take because he has a hell of a track record. But just that there was enough of a drop off and enough of an injury issue there that I was like, I don't know if he's going to refine the form. Sort of the same way we were talking about Paul Macbeth. He has shown that he has been able to bounce back in a big way this season in general. And it just feels like he's rounding back into that, best in the world form. So Gannon, if you're asking me for my moment in time on, July 22nd at 8:34 p.m. as we're recording, my pick for year's end, I'm going to go with Ricky.
The only problem is that Ricky can't win at a major. And 7 years now since his last major win. Continues on with the drought here at European Open, although he came very, very close, as we heard in Shawnee G's breakdown. But if he can't get a major win this year, I don't think that there's any chance of catching Gannon Buhr. That's what you have to, at this point, in both divisions, a player is going to have to win Worlds to have a chance, or in the MPO side, there's also the USDGC as well. And you know what, for me, Throw Pink definitely weighs heavier than just a standard Elite Series event in like my brain for determining player of the year in FPO. But statistically, it's not a major, which is unfortunate. That should change. So there is that opportunity as well in FPO, but somebody's going to have to win a major to catch one of the 2 current player of the year leaders. I think, at least. Sounds like you guys agree. And we can move on to what is coming up on the Disc Golf Pro Tour with some upcoming Pro Tour previews. And Galen, we will throw it over to you, my friend.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, coming up, we have the DGPT making yet another European Elite Series stop this weekend for the European Disc Golf Festival in Tallinn. I'm saying that wrong, Estonia, which is only around an hour and a half from the hometown of the one and only Kristin Tatar. And I'm guessing that I'm just behind the eight ball a little bit here, but I realized for the first time in doing some research for this segment, Estonia is a bit of a professional disc golfer factory. Kristin, of course, Silver Lot, Albert Tam, Mauri Vilman, Katie Tati, all also Estonian. And, not a country that I traditionally think of as cranking out powerhouses in sport, but certainly in disc golf, 100% there.
Just a quick little add-in for you here. They, looping all the way back to where we started this show with Junior Worlds, MJ, I believe it was MJ12, saw a winner from Estonia. He won. I wish I still had the stats up right in front of me, but I believe he won by 16 strokes. He's, now remember, this is MJ12. He's 950 plus rated and averaged 980 plus for the event to win by 16 strokes. And
that's
he's
wild. 11
years old. What the heck? So yeah, Estonia is a disc golf factory and churning out young guns too. So just had to add that in there for you.
Yeah, I don't know what's in the water here at this point in Estonia, but something that is favorable for creating disc golf machines. I also mentioned this running as an Elite Series is a major step up from last year with the European Disc Golf Championship, which we've now rebranded. But the championship last year was an XA tier. Last year featured a deep and competitive field on both sides, and I had to go through every player manually here, so don't give me too much crap if I'm wrong. As far as I can tell, not a single North American pro in the field last year. And last year it was Dennis Augustsson from Alingsås, Sweden. Again, bear with me on the pronunciations there. He took down MPO by a cool 10 strokes with a scorching 1064 event average. And surprise, surprise, it was local legend Kristin Tatar securing the win over an FPO with a 3-stroke lead over the best of the rest, Silva Saarinen, and 8 strokes over third-placed Evelina Salonen. I'm sort of seeing some shades of last weekend here. I don't know. Maybe we'll see how this upcoming weekend goes. And this year, Kristin is going to be looking to defend her title against a similarly deep field, 36 players last year, 40 players this year, but against what should theoretically be tougher competition, with top European pros like Evelina, Henna, Silva, Heidi Laine, Anakin, Skywalker, Sten, being joined by a few top North Americans as well, Big Money Missy, Ella Hansen, Sarah Hokum, and most importantly, Canadian Queen Sophia Dunica also registered to play. And over on MPO, we'll also see Dennis Augustsson facing stiffer competition as he looks to go back-to-back with a deep field of 108 pros on the MPO side, including the likes of Gannon, Ricky, Calvin, Simon, Matty O, Eagle McMahon, Kyle Klein, James Proctor, and another 32 North American pros, up pretty substantially from last year, that 0 number, joining the top Europeans like Niklas Antila, Lari Lettinen, Mari Vilman, Jona Heinonen, Jakob Semerad, Albert Tam, and Vinyl Makala. Should be a hell of a weekend. Let's launch into some thoughts here, some picks. I'm going to throw to you first there. Excuse me. Just having an aneurysm here. Throw over to Sean first as I get my thoughts back on track. Then we'll go to you afterwards, Robbie. Let's go over to you, Sean.
It's going to be. I've never seen disc golf in Estonia before. I'm pretty much looking forward to this thing. It's just too bad that the time difference makes it so hard to watch live. But I'm definitely going to be watching the FPO on post and probably catch the MPO live. It looks pretty darn cool, and I love that it's going to be in Estonia. It's going to be awesome to see the hometown crowd coming out for their queen. Should be pretty cool. What about you, Robbie?
Yeah, I am. I'm pumped to watch this one. It'll be obviously much deeper this year with a lot of big name American pros sticking around after the European Open to play in this. I'm not really familiar with the course at all, although I do believe this is a course that has like these giant like stadium bleachers around the whole the 18th green. And I remember videos from last year when Kristen won the tournament, almost completely choked it away. She had like a 16-stroke lead that shrunk to 3 in the final round. She was very emotional after the win. And I vaguely remember seeing these giant like grandstand seating around the 18th green, almost like you would see at a PGA event, which is super cool. So very interested to see how this goes down here. And Galen, do you got anything more to add, or should I jump right into picks? I see that you were generous enough to give me the first overall picks for this event.
Yeah, no, it wasn't generosity. Like, you know the system. It's very high tech. I close my eyes, I throw a dart, and it lands near one of your heads. Nice. So yeah, no more thoughts. I'm happy to throw over to you for those picks first there, Robbie. Who do you got?
Sweet. Well, I'm going to make this nice and easy. As much as I want to continue my streak of picking Silva Sodernen to win here, I think she's going to be coming home second place once again at this tournament, with Kristen Tatar taking it down. She is just on another level. Like you said, even when she has bad rounds, she can still win a major against the rest of the field. And last year, she had I think it was a 16-stroke lead or something huge going into the final round that she then had like one of the worst rounds of her life. And that lead shrunk like crazy, but I don't see that happening this year. I think she's going to come out with a vengeance, wanting to kind of like avenge that final round performance and really just lay the boots to the rest of this field. So that is my pick on FPO. And in MPO, I'm going to go with the hot hand of Ricky Wysocki. He's continuing to play great, as you mentioned, that last little stretch of tournaments. And that is my MPO and FPO picks.
I dig it, and I can't argue with either of those picks, even the tiniest little bit. Love to see it. Sean, how about you? Who do you have?
I'm going Gannon Burr. I mean, kid's on a tear. He's hyped. He's not jet lagged. I don't even know if he played in Estonia before. I'm going to go Gannon. Pretty chalk pick. And Robbie's dropping Silva, so I'm going to pick that up. Even if she comes in second, like he says, it's a solid pick overall. Helps my average. I'm good with that. How about you, Galen?
Yeah, I can't argue with either of those. I mean, those are the four of the players we were just talking about extensively because of how great they've been playing lately. So we love to see it. Picking third, I'm seeing some of my top choices picked over a little bit here. I'm going to go to Big Money Missy on the FPO side. It's between her and Evelina for me. Evelina just for me feels like a player who can sometimes get in her own head, and whether you sit on like the putting green or in other moments, I just wonder if that throwing away of the tournament starts to weigh on her a little bit. So I think like theoretically she should be the next choice for me. For me though, between those two, I had to go with Big Money Missy. She's had some awesome performances lately, and I like her chances if I can have Kristen or Silva. On the MPO side, I'm going to go with Nicholas. I think again, my top two picks are already off the board, so that sort of makes it. I don't know if easy is the right word. Had to think about Calvin for a second, but he's been really up and down this year. He's not been his old consistent self. Eagle's still bouncing back from the injury. Matty-O, neither here nor there. So for me, got to go with Nicholas. He's had a heck of a year. Got to go with Big Money Missy. She's had a heck of a year. So that'll round out our choices for this tournament. And once the European Disc Golf Festival wraps up in Tallinn, Estonia, the GTPT will be off to the far-off Scandinavian nation of Peoria, Illinois. That can't be right. Wow, no, sources are saying the Disc Golf Pro Tour will soon be on its way back to North America. Who would have thought after this European swing we've had, which feels like it's been going on for months. Not that I'm complaining, but it feels kind of weird to be back in the States for a major tournament. Definitely a little bit weird, but I think we can just go ahead and press on. Last year's Ledgestone was a showdown between 48 of the best FPO and 145 of the best MPO competitors that the Pro Tour has to offer. Cole Redolin won by a cool 5 strokes over second place Calvin Heimberg in MPO, with Ricky Wysocki rounding out the podium. And over in FPO, Big Money Missy took it down with a 4-stroke cushion over the own dog herself, Own Scoggins, with Sarah Hokum and Ella Hansen just sort of elbowing each other for that last spot on the podium with a tie for third. This year, both will be back to defend their titles, with Cole Redolin staring down a stacked MPO field featuring almost all the big names, save a few Europeans who won't have swung back to the States by then. But MPO is going to feature the likes of Gannon, Ricky, Calvin, Simon, Matty O, the Robinsons, Kyle Klein, AB, James Proctor, and friends of the pod, Luke Taylor, Chandler Kramer, and Thomas Gilbert. So lots of intrigue. And over in FPO, Missy's going to have her work cut out for her as well. And if she wants to repeat, she's going to have to fight her way through a crowded field featuring Own, Holland, Ella, Haley King, Val Mandahano, Kat Murch, and friends of the pod, Rebecca Cox, Natalie Ryan, Chantel Badinsky, and of course a few other players as well, I guess. It's going to be a heck of a weekend, so make sure you tune in. And now, I think, let's tune ourselves into some picks. And I'm going to lead things off this time because the dart landed right here on my forehead and a giant head cut out on the wall. I am going to take in MPO for many of the reasons that we just discussed, and for the case that I was making for him as potential future player of the year, Ricky Wysocki in MPO. An FPO, I like Big Money Missy. For me, it came down to a few players, but she's on a bit of a roll this season. I don't know that this isn't the case between her and Own, but I was taking a look and I saw that Own hadn't played anything, and I think it'll be like 3 weeks heading into this. So, for me, that like one fewer week of being rusty for Big Money Missy sold the deal. That's not a saying. What's the saying? Seal the deal. There we go. So Ricky and Big Money Missy, and I will shoot over to you, Sean. Who do you like for the Ledgestone insurance?
Wait,
there's more. What's going on, Billy Mays?
You didn't mention they are not playing Northwood Black this year at Ledgestone because it was Champions Cup.
I totally forgot about that, to be honest.
Big Money,
I'm not going to lie, I did too.
Is the Ledgestone Queen. So, or is the Northwood Black Queen. So, does that change your picks, knowing that they are not going to Northwood Black?
I don't think so. You saw my face. I had forgotten that they weren't going there either, but I don't think so. I think Missy is one of the best competitors in any field that she enters. And I think some of my reasoning on why I took her over others still stands. So I like her as the defending champ. I also just like her against the field. So I appreciate the kind offer to renege on my pick. I'm going to stick with Big Money Missy, though.
Please do not consider this to be kindness. I totally wanted to steal one of your picks, but I'm not going to tell you which one.
I was trying to give you some credit there, pal.
It's worth a try. So on FPO, I'm going to go Own Scoggins. I know we haven't seen her in a little bit, but it's Own Scoggins. Really, at this point, like, a lot of justification for any of our picks, I don't feel is particularly necessary because obviously they all have a chance of winning at all events. But so I'm just gonna go with a top-rated player in the field. I'm gonna go Own Scoggins. It would be pretty cool to see her take it down. On the men's side, you took Ricky. I don't want to go back-to-back Burr, even though, he could go back-to-back. I don't know. I'll take Calvin. He's not having the best year, but he's not having a horrible year other than, this couple here and there. So I'll take Calvin.
Hard to argue with those. Excuse me. On the FPO side, myself, I am going to go right back to my comfort zone. We're back in the States, which means I'm back to picking Holland Handley. I honestly totally forgot that we weren't playing Northwood Black for this event, which makes me even more confident in Holland for that pick. So I'm definitely feeling good about that. And then over on the MPO side, I am just going to go chalk. I'm going to do it. He was left on, it was left on the board. Little look into the show notes. Somebody just typed in that they were choosing Gannon. I wasn't looking, and I was in the middle of choosing Gannon. So we're on the same page. I'm definitely going with Gannon. He's left on the board. You can't not pick against him if he's left. I mean, he's averaging 4.5 on the season. So at worst, if he just plays his average, I'll get 4 points. And okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah, that was me, and I was going to slap you if you left Gannon on the board. So I'm glad that we're all on the same page there. I didn't have to type anything out, but that's good. Okay, so Ricky and Big Money Missy for me. Sean's got Owen and Calvin. You got Holland and Gannon. I believe there was one more thing we wanted to hit before we signed off for the episode. Sean, an update on some Missed Mando merch. Over to you.
So it is awesome. We've had a couple. We've got the hats, as you can see on my compatriots there. I've got the Missed Mando shirt on, and it's been awesome going to tournaments and our friends saying that they listen to the show. I don't know why they listen to the show, but it's very nice for them to at least lie and say that they do. And they've seen us wearing this swag and asked how they can get it. Honestly, I have no idea how to make that happen. I'm going to work on it because it would be pretty cool to get some Missed Mando swag into people's hands. But this is what happened when I tried to do it so far. So I wanted to have some custom bag patches made. And so I went to I wanted to go Canadian bag patch company because I've had them made from pull patches in the States and it's fine, but I want to go Canadian. So I found a company in Canada and I measured it out and, I wanted to be this big and whatever. And I had uploaded the artwork and the logo and it looked great. And they're like, so they send you a digital proof saying, does this look like it should? So, the colors and the embroidery and whatever. I say, yeah, it looks great. I did not look at the top right corner of that PDF that had the dimensions. And so if you need one of 25 giant, like this is my hand, so giant Missed Mando patches that do not fit on any bag, they're the size of a Frisbee, basically. They are such the wrong size. I have 25 of these things. So if you want,
and they're Velcro, right? Like you can't even.
Oh yeah, no, they're Velcro. This is solid. These are great, high quality patches here.
Oh, I believe that. They're just not like multi-purpose. Like there's not a ton of other things you can do with a giant Velcro patch. No,
if you want to, I don't know, cover half of your bag with a Missed Mando patch somehow, you could totally do it. So I'll probably just keep these things in my car instead of just throwing them in the trash. And if for whatever reason you want an enormous Missed Mando patch for whatever reason, just come find me at a tournament or whatever, and I'm happy to give you one and have a good laugh. But I am going to have the correct size patches, like 2 inches by 4 inches, made, and we're going to have 25 of those ordered that we can get to the listener who listens to the show.
So Glenn has had a stroke of brilliance. What I'm going to start doing is carrying. I'm going to buy 3 more. It'll be expensive. 3 more Squatch bags and start carrying 4 bags, 2 on each shoulder, and distributing my discs evenly. And I'll take a quarter of the patch and put them on each of the bag patch areas. So I can have a whole Missed Mando patch on my 4 bags for the tournament. Should cost me like $1,200, but it's the best solution I've come up with.
The thing is only slightly smaller than the logo size on the shirt that I wear. It like when I got I'm like, what did I get in the mail? Oh, cool! It's from the patch company. Why is the
parcel so
bag
huge?
So big? It seems excessively. Oh no! What? What happened?
There's only 25 of those patches ever made. That's a piece of disc golf history right there.
I can guarantee you I'm not making any more this size.
Is there a disc golf Hall of Fame? Can we call them and see if they would like them?
Donate
There is a disc golf Hall of Fame.
giant patches.
All right.
So
let's
anyway,
send them a DM.
that wasn't a win this week, but it is at very least very funny.
Absolutely hilarious, and a total Shawnee G move, which
100%.
we love you for it, pal. We love it. Fellas, if you guys got nothing more to add, I think that this has been a very long show, a great show, and that's going to do it for us here on Missed Mando. Thank you so much once again to Colleen McInnes for joining us. Great interview, and hope to have her back on at some point. And for Sean Galbraith and Galen Naidu Harris, yeah, I kind of messed that up a little bit. That's even more of a sign that it's time to sign off. So for Sean Galbraith and Galen Naidu Harris, I am Robbie Holden, and we will see you out on the course. Dum 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 dum.